sports.
We are the Fourth. We are the West.
Your Rangers begin their final regular season road trip in Oakland, holding on to a one-game lead in the West. With the best road record in the American League, the Rangers look to build on their previous success away from Globe Life Park. Delino DeShields is back in the lineup. Martin Perez gets the start when the Rangers and the A's get underway next on Fox Sports Southwest. Texas Rangers baseball is presented by AT&T Uburst TV. And it is a cloudy and cool evening here at OAK Coliseum. Your Rangers hoping to heat things up, though. The first of three as they start the final regular season road trip of 2015. Tonight it's the Rangers and the Oakland Athletics. And welcome in everyone, along with Tom Greaves, Steve Busby. I'm delighted you could join the Rangers and us for Tuesday night of Ranger baseball. Rangers and A's kicking off a three-game series. And Tom, the Rangers have a lot going for them. They had a great homestand, and to kind of cap that off, Prince Fielder got the Player of the Week in the AL.
Yeah, no, we were talking about that, Buzz. The offense really clicks if the guys in the middle get hot. And that's what happened on this homestand. Adrian Beltre got hot, Shin-Soo Choo got hot, and so did Prince Fielder. Prince was rewarded with the Player of the Week award. How did he do it? He hit over 300. He scored a bunch of runs. He knocked in a bunch of runs. He hit the ball out of the ballpark, and they didn't like pitching him to him very much. He walked 6 times. So having Prince hot in the middle of the order was great for that homestand. And, Buzz, what we're looking for now is the guys in the middle to stay hot for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, that'd be pretty, well, then beyond that, too, if we possibly can. Getting into late October, if at all possible. Well, Rangers are starting a very crucial series here in Oakland where they have not had a lot of success. But the Rangers looking to turn things around on the road now against the Oakland A's. We'll come back with the starting lineup for the first pitch right after this. and by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. There's a seasonably cool and cloudy evening here. A heavy air at Odotco Coliseum here on the East Bay. Before we get things started tonight, let's head down and check in with Emily Jones.
Well, Buzz, the Rangers starting pitcher tonight, Martin Perez, experiencing some of the highs and lows involved with coming back from a surgery like Tommy John, and says that, or says his catcher rather, that he's still figuring things out.
He's having to learn himself all over again. Basically, he's got pretty much a new ligament in his arm, and he's not quite, sure of what he can and can't do yet, I think. And, the more that he continues to run himself out there every 5 days is not only a positive for us, but just for himself. Getting that ability to get that feel back, to have mentally understand he can still do it, I think is a big thing.
So he'll be back out there this evening on a crisp and cool night here in Oakland. It's about 57 degrees or so you can look for Elvis Andrus to have his earmuffs on, Buzz.
All right, yeah, we'll keep an eye on that. That's always a good barometer of where things are. Sean Nolan out to pitch against the Rangers once again, and Tom's going to tell you about the Southwest Airlines Rangers lineup tonight.
Well, he will face Delino DeShields leading off. Shin-Soo Choo will bat second. Shin-Soo hit .543 on the recent homestand. Adrian Beltre hit .462 on the same 10-game homestand. Prince Fielder was the player of the week. He's batting fourth. Mike Napoli in left field is fifth. Mitch Morland is sixth, followed by the shortstop Elvis Andrus. Rougned Odor will hit eighth. And Chris Jimenez, with career highs in home runs and RBIs, will bat ninth.
And that is a lineup that will face the 25-year-old southpaw Sean Nolan. Nolan got his first major league win against the Rangers down in Arlington about 10 days ago, and we are underway. It is strike one. Nolan, fastball, curveball, changeup. Rangers didn't have a whole lot of success against him in Texas, so they need to make some adjustments. I'm sure those adjustments are already in the works here as the Rangers try to get back on the winning side of things. Lost their last ball game on Sunday at home. Seattle ended up winning 2 out of 3 against them. Delino, 255, couple of home runs, 30 RBI, and he did not play in Sunday's ball game. Jeff Bannister said it was a scheduled off day, if you will, for Delino. They'd already figured out that with that Sunday off, they will also have Monday off. And Delino now back in for the long haul. Knee is healthy and no problems physically. The 2-1 pitch. And high and outside, 3 balls and a strike. So Delino trying to get aboard to start things for the Rangers. Shin-Soo Choo waiting in that on-deck circle. Rangers come in at 80 and 69. They are a game up on the Houston Astros as Delino DeShields works a walk to start things off, and that almost always is a very good sign for the Ranger offense. And behind Sean Nolan tonight, we'll take a look at the A's defense. Outfield of Smolinski, Burns, and Reddick, left, center, and right. Infield, Canna at first, Lowry and Semien up the middle, Danny Valencia at third, and Carson Blair is behind the plate, catching for Sean Nolan. Sean Nolan played his collegiate ball, at least his junior college collegiate ball at San Jacinto Community College. Was a kind of an odd move right there. I guess time was called. Hopefully time was called.
Can't get away with that one, can you?
I don't think so. And a pitch in at the knees to Shin-Soo Choo. Choo hitting at 272 with 18 home runs and 69 RBI. Boy, he is putting together some kind of offensive second half of this season. Go back to the All-Star break, and Choo leading just about everybody. A bunt down the first base side, and a nice play by Canna to get the out. Choo almost able to get that in for a base hit. If he makes Canna go 2 more steps to his right, that probably is a base hit, but as it turns out, it's a sacrifice, moving Delino DeShields into scoring position with 1 out.
Yeah, it was a good try by Shin-Soo. You don't see him bunt a whole lot. With the left-handed pitcher falling off slightly toward third base, you're right, Buzz. If he could have gotten it, maybe 3, 4, 5 feet even toward the pitcher, I don't think the pitcher could have reacted quickly enough to get him. And certainly the first baseman wouldn't have been able to tag him. Good try by Shin-Soo. Good idea with the guys in the middle of the order coming up and swinging the bats pretty well.
Yeah. No, the Shields in scoring position. Adrian Beltre takes high and away for ball 1. Adrian stepping to the plate, hitting at .276. He has 15 home runs, 62 RBI for Beltre. Outside and low, the changeup missed. Beltre now on a pretty good roll as far as driving in runs. He has 32 RBI in his last 35 games, and over his last 10, that would cover the just completed homestand. Adrian hit .462 with 12 RBI in those 10 games. Well, Beltre and fielder Prince not quite as hot as Beltre over those 10 games, but look for Prince to heat things back up here the last 13 games of the season. Adrian trying to warm things up with that swing. 2 balls and a strike. There's Prince. Co-American League Player of the Week for last week. He and Jose Abreu of the White Sox. Most RBI in the month of September. How about Beltre being tied with Jose Bautista? Just 2 behind Big Papi, David Ortiz. A's are in an overshift. As you can see, the second baseman Lowry playing on the third base side of second. They load up that side of the diamond with Beltre up there, and Canna, the first baseman, off the line a bit. But there's a huge hole to the right side, and Beltre takes care of it. Base hit to right, being waved around third. Here comes Delino. The side, he's safe. Beltre will continue to second base. Adrian drives in the run. The Rangers lead it 1-0.
Good job by Adrian. On the 2-0 pitch, he went for it and was way out in front of a slow pitch. It's almost like he said, okay, I got to be a little bit more under control with this next swing. And instead of trying to pull the ball, he just waits on that pitch and drives it over second. Now, Reddick is a very good outfielder. He's got a very good arm. But you have to remember that it's DeShields running, and his chances of throwing DeShields out at the plate are not very good. And on the play, the catcher couldn't catch the ball, and Adrian ends up at second base.
And that's going to be ruled an error on Carson Blair, the catcher, for not handling that ball that you were talking about, Tom.
Yep.
So for the A's, their 112th error of the year. They have the most in all of baseball. Well, the Rangers out to an early 1-0 lead. Prince fielder trying to make that a couple. He appealed down to third and no swing on the check swing. 2 balls and no strikes. Fielder overall a .307 average, 21 home runs, 84 RBI, and that .380 on base percentage. Good for 5th in the American League. That ball's ripped to left center field. Going back is Smolinski and makes the catch up over his head. Nice play by Smolinski, taking extra bases away from Prince fielder.
But Prince hit that ball sharply on a line. All he had to do is get it up in the air a little bit, and it's probably off the wall. Instead, Smolinski was able to go back and make a nice catch. Lunged for it, caught it. He's taking a shot at that gap. Ball sliced back to Smolinski and turns, reaches, and makes a nice play.
Boy, that thing really was smoked.
It was.
Looked like it took off again out there. So that is out number 2. Here's Mike Napoli. Napa, .288 hitter with the Rangers. And he had a home run off of Sean Nolan. Takes that pitch in for a strike. Napoli in his last 15 starts with the Rangers, getting .327, 4 home runs, and 8 RBI. And Nolan a little turnaround to see what Beltre is up to. Napoli 1 for 3 against Nolan down in Arlington with that home run. A .366 average against left-handers since joining the Rangers. No balls, 2 strikes. Napoli getting his 7th start in left field. He started 7 of the last 9 ball games for the Rangers out there. Then he's getting more comfortable. He didn't qualify that, though, to say how comfortable he feels out there. He just said getting better. Nolan peering in for the side. The left-hander sets. Napoli fouls it back. Still 0-2. Napoli on the homestand went 6 for 21. That figures out to a .286 average. Drove in 5 runs, scored 4 runs. Rangers putting together a homestand that saw them score an average of 6.5 runs per game. Another 0-2 is coming. That was the one pitch last time that Ranger hitters were very impressed with Sean Nolan, that changeup. Said he had excellent motion on it, very difficult to pick up for most of the guys.
It'd be interesting to see second time around if they're a little more comfortable with it.
2-2. Well, I would think at least this time they know what to expect, and it doesn't mean they can handle it any better, but
who was it, Nuno for Seattle?
Yes,
pitched those 7 innings, shut him out in Seattle, and came back and didn't have quite the same amount of, so it didn't have quite the same command, but still.
Chopper back of third. Valencia throw across, gets Napoli, and that'll do it for the Rangers. But Rangers get on the board first, a run on a hit, an error, and 1 man left. After a half inning, it's the Rangers 1, the A's coming up. Martin Perez, excuse me.
Billy Burns will lead off. He's a .342 hitter in his last 18 games. Mark Canha will bat second. Brett Lowry, the second baseman, is third, followed by the hot-hitting Danny Valencia. Billy Butler will bat fifth. He's been hot and cold this year, but recently in 19 games he's hitting .347, so he's hot right now. Josh Reddick, 4 home runs, 8 RBIs in his last 10 games, will hit sixth. Former Ranger Jake Smolinski will hit seventh. Marcus Semien, the shortstop, is eighth, and Carson Blair, the catcher, bats ninth.
And that is the lineup that Bob Melvin threw out there tonight to face Martin Perez. And Billy Burns leading things off. The switch-hitting center fielder shoots one the other way for a base hit. And the speedster is on to begin things with an opposite field single. And we'll take a look at our progressive scouting report for Martin Perez. He has been consistent as far as getting into pitchers' counts, getting ahead of hitters, but he has not been able to consistently put hitters away. That a lot of that is due to the rust of not being out in competition. Missed a year and a half, and tonight he looks to find that touch for his finishing pitches, whatever that might be tonight, whether it be the good changeup or the fastball. He would love to be able to put hitters away, and work deep into the ball game here tonight against the A's. A 1 on and nobody out. Mark Canha. All the way to the backstop goes that first pitch, and Chris Jimenez couldn't find it for a minute. He does, and not before Burns gets to second base.
Now, Buzz, we've been talking about a lot of hitters that like to hit the first pitch they see. Fastball for a strike. Jose Altuve comes to mind. Just got done playing the Astros. Burns is that kind of a guy, too. When he puts the first pitch in play, he's a .472 hitter. Well, if there's one guy in this lineup you probably don't want to throw a first pitch fastball for a strike to, it's Billy Burns, because if he swings at it, he's almost a .500 hitter.
Well, he's at second base now after that wild pitch. Nobody out. 1 ball, no strikes. The count to Mark Canha. Canha, a .255 hitter. Trying to take the ball the other way and shoots it back into the seats down the right side. 1 ball and 1 strike. Canha with 15 home runs, 65 driven in, those 65 RBI. The most among American League rookies this year. Canha having an outstanding rookie year. He and Billy Burns, both great candidates for Rookie of the Year, and if there can be a greater candidate, I guess, than Carlos Correa, because he's the one person that has really wowed everybody since he came up. But these two here in Oakland, Burns and Canha, really having solid first years.
Yeah, you know, the other guy that's having a good year, in fact, he's having a year just as good as Correa, is Francisco Lindor, the shortstop for Cleveland.
That's right.
He's hitting about 30 points higher. He doesn't have the home runs, but he's a highlight reel defensively at shortstop. And we haven't seen him, so it's tough to comment, but there are people that say he's, you know, right in the same league as Correa defensively at shortstop, if not even better. So there's some really good position players this year, rookies. Canha's had some value because he can play the outfield and he play first base as well.
2-2 the count to it. Perez okays the sign from Jimenez. Ground ball to the left side, cut off by Beltran. The first, and that is out number 1. And just as importantly, it keeps Billy Burns at second base. So 1 gone. Let's take a look at the rest of the Ranger defense delivered to you tonight by Break Check. Outfield for the Rangers. Napoli gets that start in left field again. DeShields and Chu round out the outfield. Morland, Odor, Andrus, and Beltre with Chris Jimenez behind the plate. The Ranger defense second to last in the American League as far as errors, 108. But like the A's, the Rangers committing fewer errors the second half of the season. So 1 gone, and Brett Lowry, the second baseman, steps in. Perez deals strike 1. Lowry at .268, 16 home runs, 58 driven in. Lowry came over with tonight's starter, Sean Nolan, from the Toronto Blue Jays. That deal that sent Josh Donaldson over to Toronto. Lowry not particularly thrilled with that call by home plate umpire Jerry Meals.
Yeah, but when you saw the Fox box, they were both strikes. They weren't off the plate. They were both on the corner. He didn't like him. He must not have seen him very well. He's the kind of guy that dives out over the plate after the ball. Well, it's probably a pretty good plan to pitch him in there like that. Not every pitch, but definitely keep him honest with balls in there, so he can't dive out over the plate for the outside pitch.
1-2. That's a nice stop, by the way, by Chris Jimenez. Able to keep that pitch in the dirt out in front of him and near enough home plate to prevent Burns from advancing. Martino okays the sign and the 1-2 pitch. Keep swinging.
Good. Oh, what was that, a sinker? 88 miles an hour. Pretty good pitch.
Either sinker or cutter. Hard to tell from up here which way it was moving.
Yeah.
But it was moving down, that's for sure. That's a cutter.
Nice pitch.
Whatever you want to call it, it was located extremely well.
I call it strike 3.
And got the desired effect. That's exactly right. So 2 gone now. Burns still anchored at second base. And Danny Valencia, the third baseman and cleanup hitter. Valencia single-handedly tore the Astros apart on Friday night down at Minute Maid Park. He had a 2-home run game at the game winner. And he goes after the pitch. Elvis dives, comes up with it, throws, and gets it.
Wow.
A run-saving play, an inning ender for Elvis Andrus. The Rangers are off the field. No runs, a hit, and 1 man left. Thanks to that play at shortstop by Andrus. 1-0 Rangers. Broadcasting to the U.S. Armed Forces, serving around the world on land and on ships at sea. Welcome to all of you, and thank you so much for your service. Well, Rangers out to an early 1-0 lead. Mitch Morland starts off the top of the second inning. Morland, a .280 hitter. He's now the team leader with 22 home runs. And he has driven in 79. He's just 5 behind Prince Fielder in the RBI category. Mitch already with a career high in RBI, the 22 home runs, 1 shy of his career high, which he set 23 home runs back in 2013. And Sean Nolan gets a swinging strike 2. Nolan gave up a run on a hit and a walk in that first inning. Adrian Beltre driving home Delino DeShields. Rangers against Oakland this year have won only 6 of the 16 meetings between the two teams. In this ballpark, pretty evenly split. 3 wins for the Rangers, 4 wins for the Athletics. In the final 3 games of this season series, A's have already won that season series. Pulled to the right side. Second baseman Lowry, a long throw, not in time to get Mitch Morland. No, there's one that hit it into the teeth of the shift, but deep enough between the two of them that there was no play for him.
Yeah, if you hit it right between them like that, and he has to go towards center field, it doesn't really matter whether you're a fast runner or not. You could tell Lowry knew it, too. Watch how quickly he tries to get rid of this ball, but he's out in center field. The throw's just too long to get anybody.
Yeah, sure was.
I guess if you're going to your left or it's straight at you, you can come in and make a play, but you have to go to your right. It's going to be a tough play.
Now, does that qualify as an infield hit?
That's a good question. I guess it has to be. It was hit in front of an infielder.
Yeah. In shallow right field, I guess it must be. And one of Mitch's few infield hits that he's going to be credited with. That's all right. Elvis Andrus, a .257 average, half a dozen home runs, 56 RBI. And Elvis swinging the bat consistently well over the last 2 months. Go back for Elvis. some 60 games, and he has been a .285 hitter. Nolan, a check of first again. Changeup floats high and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Elvis, though, like a lot of the Rangers, trouble lately on the road. Elvis is hitless in his last 17 road at-bats. Rangers have the 2nd lowest road batting average in the American League at .236. 2-1. And that's surprising considering they have the most wins in the American League on the road. Jeff Bannister's club doing some pretty good pitching and getting the runs in a timely fashion. High and away, 3-1.
Buzz, normally in this ballpark, the first thing we talk about with the field is how much foul territory there is and how many high pop-ups are caught here that go into the stands and other places. In this series, we also need to talk about the field itself.
Yeah.
They play football here, and the outfield is just in terrible condition right now. During the season before football starts, this is one of the most beautiful fields in baseball. But right now, because they play football on it, football field goes basically from third to first. The whole infield is right in the middle of the football field, so it's not that great for football. But it can definitely affect balls, probably more so in the outfield than the infield. We'll have to keep an eye on that. See if the outfielders are a little more tentative or whether they get any bad hops out there. It's harder, so the ball will get to them quicker for sure.
Tom, you played in the outfield here. When you were playing, they did the same thing. But
yeah,
it looks like there are spots out there where the grass has not been affected. So you have a little bit thicker area and then some thinner places.
Yeah.
Simeon to second. They get one. The return not in time. Pitch down there right in the lap of Brett Lowry to make sure that couldn't get a whole lot on that throw.
I can't remember exactly what the field was like condition-wise way back then. Before football, I'm pretty sure it wasn't as nice as it is now. They do a spectacular job of keeping their field in shape here. And without the same ability to do that, no telling what it would look like right now shortly after 2 or 3 football games that have been played here.
Yeah, it just looked like it's probably pretty uneven out there. You might run into patches where the ball scoots and other patches where it doesn't do quite that much.
It's got some spots that have been resodded, and right in center field where the center fielder is, there's bleachers there, stands there. That's I don't know if that's been resodded or just mowed short and rolled to smooth it off. I'm not sure what's been done there. But yeah, I would say there's different levels of grass, different thicknesses of grass, but nothing you can plan on. You just have to watch the ball and see what it does.
Walking around on the field this afternoon behind home plate, down toward first and third in foul territory. There's very little grass. A lot of the green stuff that you see that passes for grass is paint. Bare dirt that's been painted. In any event, both ball clubs have to play on it. 0-2 the count to Rougned Odor. Elvis at first, 1 out here in the second. Odor a .270 average with 14 home runs. And he takes a little bit low. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Rougned 55 RBI this year. See if Elvis can get a jump. Try and swipe second, get himself in scoring position. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Odor in a little bit of an offensive downturn. Noticed 2 for his last 16. Elvis stepping that lead off. Popped into shallow right field. Reddick coming on. Ball hanging up for him. 2 gone. Well, Elvis still at first. Chris Jimenez coming up. Folks, on Wednesday, September the 30th, the Rangers take on the Detroit Tigers, and it's the last chance this season to enjoy Dollar Hot Dog Night. Get to TexasRangers.com to get tickets for the important American League matchup and savor the last dollar hot dogs of the season. Last homestand, the Tigers and Los Angeles Angels coming in. Tigers in for 3, and the Angels finish it up with 4. Chris Jimenez, a .253 average. As he steps to the plate, 5 home runs, 14 driven in for Chris. Nothing and 1. Jimenez 6 out of 21 on the just completed homestand. It's a .286 average.
I was just looking at the scoreboard. How about Jake Arrieta for his 20th win? 3-hit shutout with 11 strikeouts. 20-6.
That's pretty much an exclamation point.
ERA of 188.
Wow.
Yeah, everybody has already given the Cy Young Award, I guess, to Zach Greinke, with Clayton Kershaw right there with him. But
yeah,
man, if you go 20-6 with a 188 ERA, you got to be in the conversation, I would think.
Pitching half of your games in Wrigley?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, we'll take a look at our Kubota Power stats talking about Jake Arrieta. First time over 20 wins, first 20-game winner this year. 1 walk, 11 punch-outs against Milwaukee tonight. That's your 20th on something you're pretty proud of. That's a true quality start. You want that on your resume. 2-1 the count to Jimenez. Elvis Andrus, the runner at first base. 2 outs here in the top of the second. And 3-1. Chris eyeballing him, and Nolan not able to get the calls from Jerry Meals. Jimenez trying to get aboard to extend this second inning. The top of the order, and Delino to Shields in the on-deck circle. Three-one pitch. That'll be a full count. So with 2 outs, Elvis will get a running start from first. But Chris Jimenez reaching base safely in 8 of his last 9 starts. And you might note, too, that in his 24 starts up to tonight, Rangers had a 20-4 record. Not putting all that on Chris's shoulders, but he's been a big part of it. Elvis on the move, payoff pitch, got him swinging. Fastball up, and Chris couldn't get on top of it. Side retired, no runs, a hit, and 1 man left for the Rangers. After 1.5, Rangers 1, A's nothing. Southwest data, strong fan, and and you just might see yourself in one of our upcoming broadcasts. All this made possible by the good folks at T-Mobile. We will show you the selection for tonight a little bit later on. Now Martin Perez back out to the hill. He will face Billy Butler, Josh Reddick, and Jake Smolinski here in the second inning. First pitch from Martin is down and away. Butler, the A's DH, a .252 hitter. 13 home runs, 62 runs driven in. Hit well to center field. That chases Delino to Shields back. The ball dying, as it tends to do out here. And that usually at night is Death Valley out there.
I know that had the sound, Buzz, because when that pitch came, I was looking down at my scorecard, didn't see the pitch, and when I heard that, I felt to myself, uh-oh, and looked up. Fortunately, it stayed in the ballpark. But that had the home run sound to it.
Sure did. And a home run hitter hit it. Boom. Right off the good part of the bat. That is a... Well, that's a good 6-iron to hit that thing out of here tonight. No, one gone. Here is Josh Reddick, who takes strike one. Reddick, a .273 hitter, 19 home runs, and 74 driven in. Reddick, as Ranger fans know, always a tough out for the Rangers. Martin Perez has had pretty good success, as that .214 average would tell you. Reddick, go back over his career. He's been a .311 hitter. And this is not just a small sample, 63 games worth against the Rangers. And Martin falling behind now, 3-1. And Reddick this year, one of the highest averages for an A against the Rangers in history. 441 average. And that pitch outside. Reddick takes a 1-out walk. The first walk issued by Martin Perez tonight. 1 on, 1 out for Jake Smolinski. Smolinski for the season, a .192 average. In an Oakland uniform, he's hit much better than that, .231. Topped foul down the third baseline, and the count goes to 0-1. Jake with 5 of his 6 home runs in an A's uniform, and each of his last 6 hits have gone for extra bases. Rangers looking for that double play grounder. One ball and 1 strike. Smolinski, you might remember, pulled off the waiver wire by Oakland back on June 21st. Rangers had designated him for assignment. Jake saw action in 35 games for the Rangers, up and down a couple of times. 1-2. Martin rubbing up a new baseball, trying to work around the 1-out walk to Reddick. One-two pitch. The liner to Shields toward the alley, on the run, can't get it. One hop and off the wall. And by the time he recovers, Reddick around third will score. Into third with a sliding triple is Jake Smolinski. And we are tied at 1.
Well, Martin got the swing and a miss on it looked like a changeup down. Looking for a double play ball. Trying to keep the ball down, but wasn't down far enough. It wasn't a terrible pitch. It was inside corner. Sometimes you have to give that credit to the hitter. Went down and hit a pitch on the low inside part of the plate. Maybe not exactly where Martin wanted it, but not a terrible pitch to be hit like that. Good at bat for Smolinski.
Yep. Smolinski drives in his 24th run overall, his 18th with the A's. He is at third base now, still just one out. Marcus Semien, the shortstop, with the Ranger infield pulled all the way in. And he takes ball one. Semien a .255 average. He's got some pop though, 13 home runs and 41 RBI. Breaking ball that catches the inside corner. Perez doing something a little bit different tonight with a runner to third. He's working from the windup. And he's going to give up a shot to center field. That's over Dahano's head and off the wall. Smolinski scores. Semien going for three. He is in with a slide and a triple. Back-to-back three baggers. And the Athletics have a 2-1 lead.
The A's are teeing off on Martin this inning. The only guy that didn't was Reddick, and he walked. Billy Butler hit a fly ball 395 feet to dead center field, and Smolinski and Semien have both gotten pitches and just drilled it. One past the Shields and one right straight over his head.
Well, Mike Maddox out to talk to his beleaguered battery, Martin Perez and Chris Jimenez. Martin visibly upset with himself about that last couple of pitches.
Batting in the ninth position and catching 39, Carson Blair.
Ron Washington talking to Carson Blair as the young catcher is headed toward home plate.
And Blair is 3 for 23 with 15 strikeouts, so he's a definite candidate for a squeeze play right here.
And now with that possibility in mind, Martin Perez going to work from the stretch. Blair a home run and two driven in. 1 ball, no strikes. Blair's first major league hit was the home run that came against the Rangers. Perez set at the belt. 1 ball and 1 strike. For Blair, this is 7th start behind the plate. Split time between AA Midland and AAA Nashville before getting a call to the big leagues. 2-1. Well, Martin Perez now has the job to get himself back under control. We've seen Martin have a little difficulty putting the brakes on an inning before it got out of hand. Don't want that to happen here.
Yeah, batters this year have hit 400 against him with men in scoring position. It's much better in September. And that has plagued him this year. Right-hand hitters have plagued him. Right-hand hitters are hitting .317 coming into the game. Right-hand hitters have 3 hits so far today.
The A's now with a couple of triples in this inning. Now have 40 triples for the year. That's a new franchise that ties the existing franchise record. Also did it in 1968. 2 balls, or 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Yeah, this is a guy you absolutely don't want to walk. This guy.
At the top of the order, Billy Burns.
Someday you might need to pitch him a little more carefully, but right now, and getting used to the big leagues, he's had a hard time making contact. So make him make some contact.
Lost him. But in the inning, 2 walks and 2 triples.
I mentioned Blair's 3 for 23 with 15 strikeouts.
Now batting center fielder, number 1, Billy Burns.
Elvis Andrus, Rougned Odor in there to talk to their left-hander, Martin Perez. Billy Burns swung at the first pitch he saw tonight and drilled it past Mitch Morland at first for a single. Guy that in this situation, a difficult one to deal with because he's hard to double up. He gets into a double play about once every other Christmas. Also doesn't strike out a whole lot. And he pushes a bunt. Martin, the throw, the tag, it got him. Nice play by Martin Perez. A bare hand and a flip over to Chris Jimenez for the tag on Semien. There's a run saver right there.
Oh, that's a run saver and maybe an inning saver. It's not a suicide squeeze. It's a safety squeeze. At least that's the way Semien played it at third base. Bare hands it, makes the play at the plate. Nice swipe tag by Chris Jimenez. You know, Butler, 300 hitter, 340 in his last 18 games. Went the route of the bunt. He's a pretty good bunter, too. Gets a lot of bunt hits, a lot of infield hits, but couldn't get that one by Martin, who got a huge play and an out.
Well, that is out number 2. Burns at first base now, down at second, Carson Blair.
Called him Butler. I'm thinking of Brett Butler.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same kind of a player, really.
Yep.
Obviously, it's Billy Burns.
Mark Canha, a ground ball to Adrian Beltre his first time. 1 ball, no strikes. You get the feeling that if Martin now can get out of this inning without any further damage, he's going to be okay. Helping himself out. Now he's got to help himself out by making good pitches to Canha. Getting the final out of the inning. The 1-0 pitch is coming. Base hit to center. Around third, Carson Blair. The throw goes into third. Blair scores. Canha with a 2-out RBI single. And the A's have a 3-1 lead.
Oh, nothing soft about these hits. These hits are rockets that they're hitting. Canha hit that as hard as any of the other hits. The 2 triples, as a matter of fact. Pitch out over the plate, drills it to center field. Canha's been hot. In his last 30 games, he's driven in 28 runs.
Yep, Canha now with his 66th RBI of the year. And that brings up Brett Lowry. Lowry, a strikeout victim in the first inning. A's have put 3 hits and 2 walks together for 3 runs here in the second inning. As Lowry takes ball 1. Lowry at .268 average. 16 home runs, 58 RBI as Burns out at second base. And Canha over at first. One ball and 1 strike. Chichi Gonzalez up and beginning to loosen in that Ranger bullpen. Perez okays the sign, a check of second. 2 balls and a strike. Perez gets the sign. And Lowry fouls it off. 2-2 now. Well, Perez forced to work overtime here, and that look on his face, body language, I tell you, he is struggling right now. He's struggling to get a hold of himself so that he can pitch the way he knows he can. 38 pitches for Martin Perez. And now Chris Jimenez is going to go out and talk to him. this is the indecision or change of decisions. This is as much about trying to figure something out as anything. Martin Perez with 27 pitches in this inning. And the left-hander is ready. 2-2 the count to Lowry. Got him swinging. Good breaking ball down and in. Same pitch that Lowry went for the first time, and that'll do it. But the A's put 3 on the board. 3 hits, they leave 2. After 2, 3-1 Oakland. And it's also Fan Appreciation Day. Come on out and join in Fan Appreciation festivities, and be sure to get to the ballpark early. The first 30,000 fans will receive a voucher good for free ticket in 2016. Visit TexasRangers.com or call 972-RANGERS to get your tickets. Rangers have some work to do. Delino to Shields starting off the Ranger third. Big strike one. Delino drew a walk and scored the Ranger run back in the first. Nolan's next pitch. 1 ball and 1 strike. Good to see Delino back in at the top of the order. Rangers not quite the same team without him up there. He's really the catalyst, the spark plug, whatever moniker you want to put on him. He has hit safely in 7 of his last 8 ball games. Very important part of that Ranger offense. This is the 60th game for DeShields that he has hit leadoff. 60th consecutive game that he has hit leadoff.
Yeah, with the exception of Mike Napoli, he probably sees as many pitches too. He'll work a walk. He's gotten a good number of walks for his on-base percentage. And when you consider the limited experience he had at the upper levels of the minor leagues and what he's done, just speaks pretty well to natural improvement and what he might become over the next few years.
Sure does. Foul back. You know, and it's amazing. We talk about Delino being this time last year at AA with Houston, or I should say in the 2014 season, regular season. We don't mention the same thing about Rougned Odor, but he was at AA before the Rangers called him up last year in May. So both these guys, not any experience really at AAA before they got to the big league. Everyone got to it very early. They're both 20 and 21 years of age. And I think you'd have to say that they've proven themselves ready to play at the big league level.
Yeah, it's not always smooth sailing, and Rougned can attest to that.
Yeah.
Just look at what happened in April and early in May.
Another 3-2. That's hit well to right field, but Reddick able to move back and make the catch for out number 1. Delino hit a bullet, but Reddick able to haul it in, and now Shin-Soo Choo will come up. And before we tell you about Choo, we're going to send it back to John Radigan for a Mazda game break.
Now batting, number 17, Shin-Soo Choo.
All right, John, thank you. That's good news from Houston. That's a 4-game series, and as far as the Rangers are concerned, hopefully they split that.
Yeah, I guess you look at it that way.
The Angels very much in contention. They have played themselves back to that point after having problems. Pitch inside to Choo. Angels starting play tonight. We're trailing the Astros by 3.5 for that second wild card spot, trailing the Rangers by 4.5. Swing and a miss. Choo had a sacrifice bunt his first time up there. How about the last 9 ball games on the road for Choo, a .355 average?
You can tell that Nolan is crafty and tough to pick up and throws off your timing. There's been a number of pitches where the Rangers have been late swinging at him, and they're not all fastballs either. His best fastball has been 90 miles an hour, so he's not throwing the heat by the hitters. But you can tell by some of the swings they're taking. That swing right there by Shin-Soo. He's got some deception, change of speed, whatever it is. He is definitely disrupting the timing of the Ranger hitter. That's a pitch you don't see Shin-Soo Choo swing at very often.
A second strikeout for Nolan. 2 up, 2 away here in the third. Adrian Beltre will step up. Beltre had the RBI in the first inning, driving home Delino to Shields. Adrian with his 63rd run driven in this year. Popped it up to shallow right field, going out Lowry, coming on Reddick. Reddick makes the call on the catch, and that'll do it. Rangers are down in order for the first time tonight. We played 2.5 in Oakland. It's the A's 3 and the Rangers 1. Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today. Ford is the best in Texas. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. A beautiful shot of the new Bay Bridge. Just opened year before last. Cool evening out here at Odotco Coliseum. Martin Perez going to work here in the bottom of the third, dealing to Danny Valencia. A breaking ball in for strike 1. Valencia Out on a nice play by Elvis Andrus. A dive to his left and just threw him out by a step at first. Elvis is Emily Jones told you wearing the earmuffs, extension on the bottom of his hat. That's good.
I thought she was kidding.
Oh.
I don't even know what to say.
Elvis growing up in Venezuela, I don't think he was used to, or Rougned Odor for that matter.
I think they're making a fashion statement. It can't be because it's cold. I guess it can.
Yeah, Adrian said,
The one thing you can't really do, I don't think. You can't go with the earmuffs because it's cold, and then wear short sleeves.
Okay.
You know, it just.
Yeah. Like Rougned?
Yeah. Unless your ears get colder than your arms. Generally, if your arms and your body's warm, your ears are going to be fine.
Well, your ears are up a little bit higher.
Rougned's aren't.
Rougned probably just doing what Elvis does, so he doesn't feel bad.
Yeah, I guess that's the double play combination.
You got to do it together. 2-2. The count to Valencia, and now full count. Valencia leading off the third inning for the A's. He'll be followed by the DH Billy Butler. A's leading 3-1. They have out hit the Rangers 4-2 tonight. All four. And the early going just not there for Martin Perez. That's the third walk that he's issued in the last 8 hitters. And now Butler coming up.
On Martin's last start, he beat the Astros 7 innings, 9 hits, but only 1 run, 1 walk.
Right.
And I guess, Buzz, you know, I've heard people say it, and you might be one of the ones that said it. When you're coming back from a serious injury like Tommy John surgery, it's probably not out of the ordinary to be a little inconsistent.
Yeah.
Have some really good games and some games where command is just not there for you. Is that what we're seeing with it?
I think so. It's, you know, kind of like 2 steps forward and a half a step back.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. The consistency is the last thing I think to come. And you know, there's no doubt, at least watching Martin Perez, that he's healthy. And you know, there's nothing prohibiting him from throwing whatever he wants to, whenever he wants to. And strength-wise, looks like he's back pretty well. But the consistency, the idea of thinking your way through at bats, there's a base hit by Butler. Well, 2 on with nobody out. Of thinking your way through at bats, of being able to make the pitches when you want to, and at the proper time and the proper location. That all works back into it. You got to get that back in shape too, and that takes a little bit longer than the physical part of it. Mike Maddox out again to slow things down, give Chichi Gonzalez an opportunity to continue to loosen.
The A's, they have some guys that are swinging the bats recently. Burns is a 300 hitter. Canna's knocked in 30 runs in the last 28 runs in the last 30 games. Valencia's been swinging the bat. Billy Butler, 347 in his last 19 games. Reddick, 4 home runs, 8 RBIs in his last 10 games. So they got some guys in the lineup. They don't have a very good record this year, and they've certainly been inconsistent. And they're not always hot, but right now they've got some guys swinging the bats pretty well.
Yeah,
swinging the bats pretty well tonight too.
A 2 on, nobody out. See if Mike Maddox order up one of those double play balls that he's so famous for. Josh Reddick drew a walk, scored the first run for the A's back in the second. He has Danny Valencia at second, Billy Butler at first. Nobody out here in the bottom of the third. 1 ball, no strikes. And you watch Martin Perez throwing the ball. Not only are the results inconsistent, his mechanics are a little bit inconsistent. He's on fall on that last pitch or be off balance on that last pitch. You very rarely see Martin off balance. He has a very balanced delivery. This is going to be a double play. Butler tries to knock Odor down and disrupted him enough that Rougned could not make an accurate throw, and Mitch couldn't dig it out of the dirt.
Yeah, there's not much you can do on that one. Butler has the right to run as fast as he can in a straight line towards second base. And Rubned just ran into a guy about 6'3" and 260 pounds.
Now batting left fielder, 5,
Well, it's a fielder's choice. First and third with one out now. And Jake Smolinski coming up. Smolinski had that run-scoring triple. His first time to the plate. So Jake now with 24 RBI for the year. The runners at the corners. Ranger infield back at double play depth. 1 ball, no strikes. Good look at the Ranger defense. Beltre back behind the bag at third. Rangers love to get that 2 ball at an infielder. And I don't know if that's going to be quick enough to turn it or not. The throw not in time. Smolinski able to beat it out. In to score is Valencia. And Smolinski with his second RBI of the night. It is a 4-1 Oakland lead.
Well, they just got 2 potential double play balls, but neither one of them was hit that hard. That one definitely wasn't. The other one, Butler just knocked Rubned down, and he wasn't able to make an accurate throw to first. That one, there's just nothing they can do to turn the double play.
Yep. So 2 gone with Smolinski at first and Marcus Semien at the plate. Semien tripled right over the head of Delino DeShields his first time up. He had a bullet out there that Delino retreated on, but couldn't get back quickly enough. That ball short hopped the wall. Semien on that base hit had his 42nd run driven in. Ranger outfield plays Semien a couple of steps around to the left. The infield in a similar fashion. 1-0 pitch. 2 balls, no strikes. Semien now a 256 average after that triple. 7-game hitting streak. Seen him go 8 for 22. That is in for a strike. Team taking a little bit off. Perez a check of first. It's a swinging strike from Semien. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Martin trying to put a capper on this inning. Got him swinging. The strikeout for Perez is 3rd of the night, but the A's put another on the board, a run on a hit and lead 1. After 3, it's now Oakland 4 and Texas 1. comes on Tuesday, September 29th. First 15,000 fans will receive a Yu Darvish gnome. That's thanks to Nitto Tire USA. Get to TexasRangers.com to get your tickets for the last giveaway of the season. Well, the Rangers come to bat here in the top of the fourth inning. Sean Nolan now with a 3-run advantage. He's dealing to Prince Fielder, who takes outside for ball one. Fielder lined to deep left field his first time up. He hit it right on the nose. Smolinski went back to make a fine leaping catch against him. 1 ball and 1 strike. Fielder, Napoli, and Morland, the first 3 Rangers to face Nolan here in the fourth inning. 1-1 pitch. That ball is hammered to left field. Going back, Smolinski at the track, at the wall, up against the wall, makes the catch. That is out number 1, and that ball during the daytime is up in the seats by a good 10 rows. But we're not playing the daytime.
Yeah, you know, if you drive the ball, line drives, the A's have hit a couple of balls to center field more on a line. This one is a little bit higher. Off the bat, looked pretty good, but just kind of died at the 360 sign. A couple of pretty well hit balls by Fielder. Line drive and a fly ball now to left field. Smolinski's caught both of them.
1 long out. Here's Napoli. 0-1. Knapp had a ground ball to third his first time to the plate. Prince ought to save those till Thursday afternoon. I think that'd probably be 2 for 2. Going to the line. Shot off the bag down the left field line. A fair ball into the corner. Smolinski goes in to dig it out, and he gets by him a little bit. Napoli in with a double. Well, Mike Napoli continuing to blister left-handed pitching. It's his 20th double of the year.
He hit that one hard. Valencia was almost in position to get this ball if he got lucky and had the ball go in his glove. Fortunately, he takes a big hop right over him. Knapp with a big swing right down the line. Let's see what that hit. Yeah, you're right, Buzz. It hit the bag, went right over his head.
Well, the Rangers' 3rd hit of the night. Napoli with the first extra base hit for the Rangers. Mitch Morland, who had a long infield single his first time up, takes ball 1. Mitch hit one into the Oakland shift on the infield, but he hit it right between Semien and Brett Lowry, the second baseman. Lowry, by the time he ran it down in right center field, couldn't make a strong enough throw to get Mitch. Now 2 balls and no strikes. Mitch with 4 home runs and 11 runs driven in his last 11 ball games. Napoli peering in from his vantage point out at second base. Watching Carson Blair go through the series of signs. And Mitch pulls this one by the dive of Lowry into right. Stopping at third is Mike Napoli. Well, Lowry doesn't know which way to go now. Morland's gone once to his left and once to his right. And Mitch is 2 for 2.
Yeah, that shift will take a lot of hits away from you if you pull the ball on the ground right into it. But today, that's exactly what Mitch has done. He's pulled the ball on the ground, which is just what they want him to do. But he's had well-placed ground balls. He's ended up with 2 hits.
So first and third, 1 out. Elvis Andrus coming to the plate. Elvis reached on a fielder's choice in the second inning. Nolan's first pitch to him. Down through there with a fastball.
Rangers looking for Elvis to get hot now with the last 2 weeks. Over a long period of time, his numbers look good. Over a shorter period of time, the last 15 games, he's only hitting 169.
Yeah.
Been hitting the ball harder than 169. He's hit a lot of balls right at people. We would love for those hard hit balls and some of the softer ones to start falling in now. Get that bottom of the order hot again.
And Elvis just a little bit below the major league average, scoring runner from third with less than 2 outs. Got a chance here. Napoli at third, Morland at first. 1 away. Rangers trailing 4-2. 2 balls and a strike. Rangers forcing Nolan to throw a lot of pitches. He's up to 66 now. He has just 1 out here in the 4th inning. The 2-1 pitch to Elvis. Game with a changeup. Two balls and 2 strikes. Nolan peering in for the sign. Elvis waiting. Foul back and out of play.
Nolan reached back for a little extra then.
Yep.
91 miles an hour with that fastball.
Knapp with a 1-out double. Advanced 90 feet as Mitch Morland followed with a single to right. Now Elvis trying to score at least one of them, if not all 3 of them. 3-2. A full count. Elvis hitting 7th in the order to be followed by the Rangers second baseman Rougned Odor.
So Nolan had him way out in front of a changeup for strike 2. Then he's thrown a couple of fastballs. And now the count's 3-2. Will he try a changeup? I'm saying yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. Morland on the move. The changeup has popped up. On the infield, Semien, the shortstop, makes the catch for out number 2. So Elvis pops out. Now with 2 gone, Rougned Odor will come up.
Well, you got a high changeup. It's actually a pretty good pitch to hit to the outfield. He got it up in the air, just got underneath it a little bit. It was up and in, borderline strike, but still a pretty good pitch to hit in the air to the outfield to at least get 1 run in. Just got underneath it too much. Rougned needs to hit one out of here. Change the complexion of this game with 1 swing.
That would pretty much do it. Odor fly to right, his first time up there. Nolan's first pitch to him. 0-1. Rougned a .269 average. And up his RBI total. Napoli and Morland at the corners. Sean Nolan sets. 1 ball and 1 strike. Talking about Odor, he's slowed down just a little bit. Still hitting over 290 since the All-Star break. This is his 56th game since the July break. Breaking ball hangs high to him. It's 2-1. Those 55 games, Rougned has had 31 RBI. Next pitch from the left hand. Skied to center field. Billy Burns waiting for it to come down out of the night sky, puts it away, and that'll do it. Rangers get a couple of hits, but Strand 2. We've played 3.5. It's the A's 4 and the Rangers 1 on Fox Sports Southwest. Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by Mazda. In every car we make, you'll see why driving matters. Now Martin Perez back out to the hill. He will work here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Carson Blair, the catcher, will lead things off. And then back to the top of the A's order. A's have reached Martin for 4 runs on 5 hits through the first 3. And Carson Blair, who drew a very important 1-out walk in the 2nd inning, takes low for ball 1. Off the end of the bat down the first baseline. Goes into foul territory. A ball and a strike. As Tom told you, Blair just 3 for 23 times to the plate. Two and one. Blair getting a lot more playing time. Stephen Vogt, the regular catcher for the A's, still hobbled, the groin injury. Broken bat up the middle. Elvis a quick release and throws out Blair. That is out number 1. And Martin Perez had to dodge the busted into that bat coming back at him.
Now batting, center fielder, number 1, Billy Burns.
I hit it right off the end of the bat. A lot of those bats that break in half, that's where the ball hits the bat. Right off the end or right off the handle near your hands. We mentioned Billy Burns is a .472 hitter when he puts the first pitch in play. Well, he swung at the first pitch 3 times today, and he's 1 for 3 on it. So his average has gone down. Swinging at the first pitch. Or I guess when he puts it in play. He's put it in play twice. He didn't put that one in play. That doesn't count. And the second one that he put in play was a bunt.
Now Burns at .298 average for the year. Ouch. That ball is not going to go very far. Odor, a quick release to get rid of it to Morland, and Burns is retired for out number 2. It sounded like he hit it with a piece of bamboo.
That one wasn't hit hard enough to break the bat in half, but it hit in the right spot. Mitch had a lunge for that ball to his left.
Mark Canha.
No, 2 gone, and Mark Canha now will come up. Canha 1 out of 2 had the RBI single in the 2nd inning. Canha now 66 runs driven in. And that batting average at .256. Pops up the first pitch. It's Morland coming down through the coach's box, right in the coach's box. Makes the catch, and that'll do it. So a nice quick inning for Martin Perez sends the A's down in order. We have finished 4 here in Oakland. The A's 4 and the Rangers 1. For the Rangers, 16-8 takes the hill, and Felix DeBrant, the left-hander, at 3-2, will face the Rangers for the second time in the space of 10 days. That's tomorrow night right here on Fox Sports Southwest. Rangers, though, some work to do here. They trail 4-1. Chris Jimenez starting off the Ranger fifth. Delino DeShields and Shin-Soo Choo to follow. Jimenez struck out first time and he faced Sean Nolan. 1-1. Now that game in Houston has just gone final. The Angels held on to defeat the Astros 4-3 tonight. So for the moment, the Rangers lead back to a game and a half over Houston. Two balls and a strike. Now 3 balls and a strike. Well, Jimenez trying to get aboard to start off the Ranger fifth inning. Delino DeShields in the on-deck circle. Starting pitching, well, pitching in general has been a difficult proposition for the A's. Starters have not gone deep into ball games, and there's a ball 4 to Jimenez. Lead-off walk. Let's see if the Rangers can't turn that into some runs. And before we tell you about Delino DeShields, let's send it back to John Radigan for a Mazda game break.
Number 7, Delino DeShields.
All right, John, thank you. Delino showing bunt and takes strike 1. He had Canna and Valencia charging down from both first and third. Delino drew the other walk in the ball game issued by Sean Nolan. That was the leadoff walk in the first, and came around to score the only Ranger run to this juncture. Chris Jimenez at first. 1 ball, 1 strike. Delino last time up hit a bullet to right field, and it was right at Josh Reddick for an out.
Yeah, Nolan's thrown a ton of pitches, 44 strikes and 37 balls. Not a sterling ratio. Rangers haven't been able to get a whole lot going against him.
On the run is Jimenez, a ground ball base hit to right. Jimenez continuing on to third. Here comes Reddick's throw. It's not in time. And moving up 90 feet is Delino DeShields on the throw to third. And the Rangers, a beautifully executed hit and run by Delino DeShields. Rangers turn a man on first into second and third and nobody out.
That's the second time Reddick has shown off his arm and had nothing to show for it. He makes a strong throw, but it's a slowly hit ball. Jimenez is safe. You know, he showed off, nice throw, but you didn't get him. Valencia shows the ball to the umpire, and Delino trots down to second, takes away the double play, puts another man in scoring position with nobody out. And that worked definitely in the Rangers' favor. Glad Reddick tried to make the throw.
Yeah, I don't think he drew glad about it.
He made a great throw, which shows that he didn't have much chance to get him. He had no. If that throw didn't get him, no throw was going to get him. You got a 4-1 lead. Probably keeping the man at first base would have been the play on that.
The Rangers will take it. Let's see if they can turn it into multiple runs here in the fifth inning. Shin-Soo Choo, who's had a sacrifice bunt and a strikeout. 0 for 1. Jimenez at third. DeShields at second. Nolan's first pitch down and away.
I got to mention what a nice job by Delino. He guessed right. He had a plan. He tried to hit a ground ball to second base. The second baseman was covering, and a little dribbler went right through for a perfect hit and run.
Choo trying to take that ball the other way, fouled it straight back. A ball and a strike. Out field, playing Chu around to the left. The infield in an opposite fashion. Into center field, a sinking line drive. Burns comes on and dives, makes the catch. Tagging at third, coming in to score, Jim, and as tagging at second, advancing. Delino to Shields. Well, what a play by Billy Burns to turn what looked to be a base hit into an out. A sacrifice line drive off the bat of Shin-Soo Choo, but it's now a 4-2 Oakland lead as the Rangers score.
The ball was hit hard, too, by Choo. Seems like, well, definitely every series, and sometimes it feels like almost every game, Billy Burns is making a play against the Rangers. In one of the series here earlier in the year, he made a couple of plays going back over the wall, into the wall.
He's coming on again. That is caught. Delino to Shields tagging. The throw is not in time. In to score, a sacrifice line drive by Adrian Beltre. It's a 4-3 Oakland lead.
Boy, both those balls hit almost exactly the same spot in the same way. Two line shots that Burns was able to run down in center field. Fortunately, there's a man on third base both times, and the Rangers pick up a couple of runs. So a leadoff walk and a perfectly executed hit and run. The throw by Reddick allowing DeShields to go to second sets up two sacrifice flies and 2 runs for the Rangers.
No, it's a 1-run game now. Rangers do indeed turn the leadoff walk and the ill-advised throw, or the I'll call it ill-advised.
I think it was. In fact, I think if you asked Reddick, he would too.
Into a couple of runs. Now Prince Fielder up there with the base is empty and 2 outs. And that's out of play to the left. Prince twice has gone the other way tonight. Hit the ball very sharply both times. But Smolinski able to make a nice running catch on the first one. And back and had to leap over his head to make the catch. And then last time up, plastered him right up against the out-of-town scoreboard for the out. A 1-1 pitch. Got Prince on the fist, and it's a ball and 2 strikes. Fielder, as he stands at the plate, a .306 hitter. Last 15 games against Oakland, you saw Prince a .375 average.
Oh,
that's a foul.
That thing skimmed like a rock on a lake all the way up to the top of the seats.
Nolan with a 1-2 pitch. Another foul ball. The Rangers not making it easy for Nolan. He's up to 91 pitches now with 2 outs here in the 5th inning. This is something the A's have had problems with. Their starting pitching is not taking them deep into games. About half the time in the last 37 games, they've gone fewer than 6 innings. Chopper out to the shortstop. And on to first. I take it back. Goes the third baseman. There's Valencia playing over there. Douglas 5-3 in the putout. The Rangers are gone, but they scored twice on a hit and a walk and a couple of sacrifices. Halfway through the game, 4-3 Oakland. heart-pounding excitement, or historic performances. Don't miss the 2015 postseason beginning October 6th. Go to MLB.com/postseason for a full broadcast schedule. Well, Martin Perez back out to the hill. He is working to Brett Lowry to start off the fifth inning. It's now a 4-3 Oakland lead. Rangers come back with a couple in the top of the fifth. Now Martin trying to throw up a 0 as he faces the A's. And misses inside the Lowry. It's 2 balls and no strikes.
He finished the third with 3 straight outs, then had his best inning, 7 or 8 pitch fourth inning. I'm going to build on that with a good inning right here in the fifth.
3-0.
Leadoff walk to start the third. It was Danny Valencia who scored a run in the third. Nope. Stay away from that.
The aforementioned Danny Valencia will follow Brett Lowry. Three and 1. Lowry, 2 strikeouts tonight in 2 at-bats. He has not been able to solve Martin Perez so far. Yes, now got that off-speed pitch up and out over the plate. A leadoff single has Lowry aboard. And again, Chichi Gonzalez up. This is the 3rd time that he has been up tonight.
Now batting, number 26, third baseman, Danny.
And you would think he's probably closer now to coming in than he has been before. If he's up for the 3rd time and with nobody out. Chris Jimenez going out to talk to Martin Perez and giving Chichi Gonzalez a little more of an opportunity to get loose. Andy Hawkins, bullpen coach for the Rangers, assistant pitching coach down there talking, and they have given him enough time. So that's looks like that's going to do it as Jeff Bannister pops out of the dugout in a very slow walk out to the mound. Looks like he is going to take Martin Perez with him. Martin, 69 pitches tonight, and it has been, with the exception of the 4th inning, not an easy night for him. A lot of high-stress situations. And Jeff Bannister talking to him, explaining why he is going to make the move that he's going to make. And the call to the bullpen has been placed. So Martin finished after 4 innings plus 1 hitter here in the 5th. Chichi Gonzalez will come in from the bullpen. And we'll take a timeout here at Odotco Coliseum. Rangers trailing the A's by 1 here in the 5th inning. We're back right after this. The middle game of a big 3-game series. Coverage begins at 11:30 a.m. and then at 5:30 on FS1. The Brewers take on the Cardinals. 5:30 p.m. Chichi Gonzalez making his second career big league relief appearance. Saw him against Seattle 3 days ago. Came in for an inning against the Mariners. Now on the very important part of this ballgame, facing Danny Valencia. 1 on, nobody out. And Chichi misses for ball 1. Chichi, the 23-year-old right-hander from Delray Beach, Florida, facing Valencia. Valencia drew a walk, as Tom told you, and started that 3rd inning. It was a very important run. It's the difference in the ball game right now that he came around to score. 1-0 pitch coming from Gonzalez. Now 2-0. Valencia also grounded out 0 for 1 officially tonight. 6 hits in his last 12 at-bats for Valencia. That's after 6 hits in his previous 39. So fortunes have changed for Danny Valencia a bit. Two and 1.
Yeah, good 2-0 pitch right there. Valencia is trying to jump on it. Chichi threw that cutter down and away. Excellent location. Good sharp cutter movement to it.
Brett Lowry taking a lead from first. The 2-1 pitch coming. 2-2.
See what he's trying to do. He's trying to pound the low outside part of the plate, trying to get a double play grounder if he can.
Yep.
And if Valencia swings that pitch and puts it in play, it's probably what he'll get. Ground ball somewhere.
And the Rangers have been double play machines. They have more double plays this year than any other American League team. Gonzalez with a 2-2. Full count. Oh, Valencia batting in the cleanup spot. The designated hitter Billy Butler will follow. Like Butler's trying to get a read on what Chichi Gonzalez features. Payoff pitch. Chopper slowly hit Beltre. Can't get it. It's by him off his glove out in the shallow left. And by the time Elvis grabs it, everybody is safe.
No, too bad. He made a good pitch, got a ground ball, but he hit on top of it, hit a little chopper. Adrian had kind of a do or die play. Can't play back on it. Otherwise, everybody might have been safe anyway. So he has to come toward the ball and hope that he can make the play on a short hop right here. Problem was, it wasn't that short of a hop, and it was tough to come up with. Wasn't able to do it.
The official scorer still hasn't made a determination on what that play is going to be ruled. It's going to be a rule of base hit. Oh, infield single. Now they just changed it. Now it's going to be an error charged to Adrian Beltre. So even indecision up here in the press box.
In between
2 on, nobody out.
In between call, just like an in between out. But you still have a guy up there that can hit a ground ball into a double play. Done it 25 times this year. Ooh. I want to do that with Reddick coming up. Second most in the American League.
He's up there with Lowry at second, Valencia at first. Butler today is single and fly to center field. There's a double play grounder. Elvis Odor. 6-4-3. Thank you very much. That's 26 grounded into by Billy Butler. 2 huge outs with Lowry moving to third.
An excellent pitch by Chichi. It's the pitch he was trying to make and actually did make to Valencia. Valencia didn't hit into a double play, but he beat the ball into the ground. It's a cutter down and away. If you swing at it and try to pull it, chances are this is what's going to happen. Butler didn't go with the pitch. He tried to pull it. He hits it right on the ground to the shortstop. The Rangers get 2 quick outs.
And before Josh Reddick steps in, let's send it back to John Radigan for a Mazda game break. All right, John, thank you. Well, here's Josh Reddick, who has walked and been on by a fielder's choice. 0-1. Reddick turning that swing loose. Reddick at .273 average as he stands at the plate. Got Brett Lowry down at third. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 5th inning. 0-2. And Reddick having quite a year against Ranger pitching, hitting over .440. Reddick does not strike out a whole lot. He strike out every 9.6 at bats. 0-2. Little blooper down the left field line. Long run in for Napoli. It's off his glove. And it is a fair ball. In to score is Lowry. Stopping at second is Reddick. It is a 5-3 Oakland lead.
That was a little blooper. Knapp hasn't had a lot of chances out there, and he had one similar to this coming straight in Texas with the same result. He got to the ball, just didn't make it stay in the glove. Went off the glove, top of the glove.
Oh, the second Ranger error of the inning. A 5-3 Oakland lead. Still 2 outs. Jake Smolinski at the plate. Got Reddick at second now. Strike 1. Smolinski has tripled and been on by a fielder's choice. He has 2 runs driven in. A ball and a strike. Well, unfortunately, that's part of the risk you run when you have a guy that hasn't played the outfield out there, even though he's going to do a lot of damage against left-hander pitching, is that in the middle of a ball game you might run into a situation where a missed play is not a good thing. Let's put it that way. And you can't expect Mike Napoli to make plays that a guy that's been playing left field most of his career would make. A ball and 2 strikes to count. Gonzalez has the sign, a check of second. This one popped up down the left field line. Into foul territory goes Elvis. Makes the catch, and that'll do it. But the A's get the run, one of the runs back. The Rangers scored a run on 1 hit, 2 errors, 1 man left. After 5-3 Oakland. By Sonic. Tonight's jackpot is worth $500 and dinner for two at Sonic Drive-In. If a Ranger hits a home run during this inning, Gracie Ann Carroll from Grand Prairie will win $500. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, Gracie Ann's going to win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. The Rangers trailing by 2 now as they come to bat here in the 6th inning, and Mike Napoli will start things off. Nap 1 out of 2 with a double. It'll be Napoli, Morland, and Andrews. He's Sean Nolan. Nolan, 92 pitches under his belt as he goes to work on Napoli and throws strike 1. Nap's double came with 1 out in the 4th inning. That was followed by Mitch Morland's single, but the Rangers left runners at the corners. Broken bat, little roller out where nobody is at second, and charging is Lowry, and he can't come up with a bare hand.
How about that? How about that for a hit? The bat went farther than the ball did.
The bat went a lot farther than the ball did.
A lot faster, too.
Well, if you were going to pick out candidates on the Rangers for infield singles tonight, I don't think Morland and Napoli would be the first 2 on your list, would they?
No, they probably wouldn't.
No, Mike Napoli with his 2nd hit of the night. He leads off the 6th with that little squibber for an infield base hit. And Will Venable's going to come in as a pinch runner. Knapp hot-footed it down there to first. He got that base hit.
That bat went all the way past third base.
There's Will Venable, pinch runner now at first. And they obviously will stay in the ball game to take over in left field. So Napoli 2 for 3 tonight, continuing to blister left-handed pitching, although that last hit not exactly in the blister category, but it still works. Here's Mitch, who is 2 for 2. Infield single and a base hit to right. 1 ball, no strikes. Morland now up to 284 with the average. Mitch has had at least 1 hit in each of his last 3 ball games. Venable, of course, very good speed. Maybe not quite the base stealer that he used to be, but he can still swipe you a base when you need it. It's not one of those situations where you'd probably see him run. Not with Mitch up there and nobody out. Rangers down by a couple. One ball and 1 strike. A's tonight 5 runs on 7 hits. Rangers 3 runs on 6 hits. Off speed and down low. If they have 7 hits, they must have changed one of those to back to a hit last inning for the A's. There's only 1 error for the Rangers.
Yeah, that's right.
You understand the scoreboard is incorrect. Okay. Morland a drive to deep center field. Burns back at the wall. Goodbye.
Take a ride on that one.
Mitch just spanned Death Valley. A 2-run blast turns this ball game to a tie. Mitch with a blast to center field, and Gracie Ann Carroll wins $500 in our Sonic Slam inning.
Well, Mitch against the lefty, 3 for 3. Couple of singles and a bomb to center field.
Well, for Morland, he ties his career high with his 23rd home run. It is now a 5-5 ball game, and that is going to do it for Sean Nolan. Take a ride on that thing.
Not many guys have the power to hit that same pitch all the way out of here in dead center field. Back a little bit to left center field, actually.
Morland goes to deep center field. Sean Nolan goes to the bench, and Drew Pomeranz summoned from the bullpen. So we have another pitching change underway here at Oakland Coliseum. It's a 5-5 game now, courtesy of Mitch Morland. We're back after this timeout. How about our Ford leaderboard tonight? Rangers leader in home runs, Mitch Morland with 23. Prince Fielder just to Mitch's left with 21. And Mitch's 2-run blast has tied this ball game. And it's brought in Drew Pomeranz from the bullpen. And Elvis turning on a Pomeranz fastball, pulls it foul for strike one. Pomeranz in his 52nd game of the year. 5-5. He's worked 84 innings. Opposition hitting just .218 against the 26-year-old left-hander. He's out of Collierville, Tennessee. This showing bunt that had both cornermen, Canna and Valencia, charging down from first and third. Elvis tonight 0 for 2 as he has popped out and reached on a fielder's choice. Pomeranz with the 1-1 pitch. Drops in that curveball. Pomeranz was drafted out of high school by the Rangers. Took him in the 12th round of the 07 draft. Pomeranz turned down the Rangers offer. Went to the University of Mississippi. Foul back. Colorado, or I should say the Cleveland Indians, selected Pomeranz, the 5th overall selection in the 2010 draft. Next year he got traded to the Colorado Rockies by the Indians.
That was the Ubaldo Jimenez trade, I think.
Yep, sure was. It was one the Rockies had a lot of people very upset with him about. Two balls and 2 strikes to Elvis. Come back to tie this ball game in the 6th, courtesy of Mitch Morland's 2-run home run. And Elvis having a good at bat against Pomeranz, fouls that pitch off. This all started with a Mike Napoli broken bat infield roller. Venable ran from Knapp, and Mitch Morland proceeded to drive one out about 415 feet into the dead of the night in center field. Another 2-2 pitch to Elvis.
Elvis having some good swings.
Yeah, he is.
He hasn't put one in fair territory yet, but he's been right on everything that Pomeranz has thrown up there.
See Elvis choking up on that bat just a little bit. 3-2. Well, Elvis, with nobody out, trying to get aboard. Rougned Odor will be the next hitter. Rangers now 5 runs on 7 hits tonight. A's 5 runs on 6 hits. Pomeranz with a payoff pitch. Up the middle, off of Pomeranz. It goes back to the catcher. Blair, and the throw is late. Hey, that's pretty good anticipation by Carson Blair to be able to go out and get that deflection. If there was any way they could get out there, and he made that a very close play.
That ball was hit hard too, headed right straight up the middle, and you know it didn't glance off Pomeranz when it comes right straight back to the catcher. It hit him solidly. Not sure exactly where it hit. Nice play by the catcher, not quite in time.
You can see on that replay Elvis getting that foot down before the ball impacted Canna's glove.
Somewhere around the ankle, in the calf area.
Pomeranz showing the A's trainer that that left ankle that didn't look real solid. That's his push-off foot. So if that thing is injured, that could affect his balance. And you've seen a lot of pitchers over the years, when their balance is affected, it can really put your arm in jeopardy. Not that that's going to happen to him here, but that can. Pomeranz is going to walk around a little bit, see if that can stop hurting.
Number 12,
he might be okay right now, but when he goes back in and sits down, if he does on the bench, it'd be hard for him to come back out for the next inning, I would think.
Yep.
So 3 consecutive hits. Elvis at first, nobody out. Rougned Odor 0 for 2 with a couple of fly balls. Odor out of that wide open stance, and Pomeranz probably not ready to make a pitch just yet. He decided I'll make a throw to first instead. Gonna butt. It's a pretty good one. The only play, Canada will have no play once he dropped it. He was thinking about second.
He was.
And he had no chance to get Elvis. And I think once he realized that, his haste to try and get the ball to first made him drop it. And that is going to put 2 aboard with nobody out for the Rangers.
Yeah, Elvis is a good base runner. He got a good lead, a good jump. And even though that ball was bunted fairly hard to Canna, I don't think he had a shot at second base. Let's see if he does or not. Now, it was going to be close. Left-handed thrower might have had a chance, but not a right-handed thrower.
Sacrifice E3.
So they're going to give Rougned Odor a sacrifice on that, and reaching base on the error to Canna. So 2 on, nobody out. Chris Jimenez, who no doubt is going to be asked to bunt in this situation. He is around, takes high and away for ball 1. And now that shot that Elvis hit off of Pomeranz may come into play, because Pomeranz might be hobbled a little bit, and his ability to field the bunt could be impaired. A's have both Valencia at third and Canna at first, getting ready to charge. Out there at second. Pomeranz ready. The bunt is down, but it's foul. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Right idea, bad location. With no wheel play on, just bunt it right straight to the third baseman. That's what Chris is trying to do.
Tony Beasley coming down to either offer some helpful tips or suggest a little different approach.
He's definitely going with lefties out of the bullpen. They've got Pomeranz in now and another one down there warming up.
Andrus with his lead from second. Right behind him, Marcus Semien, the shortstop. 1 ball and 1 strike. That bunt is down and made. Valencia tried to think about second base, couldn't get there in time, so he gets the out at first. The sacrifice is effective. Andrus to third and Odor to second. They are there with 1 out for the top of the order in Delino to Shields. Daniel Coulomb is in the bullpen for the A's.
Number 7, Delino.
Perfect bunt. See, the third baseman fields it, but the only play he might have is at second base. No way he's got to play at third because there's no one there.
Well, in a 5-5 ball game now, the Rangers have the go-ahead run at third and 1 out. The infield for the A's all the way in. And Delino taking a hack at that high fastball. It is strike 1. DeShields has scored 2 runs tonight. He's 1 for 2, had a single last time up. Walked and scored back in the first inning. Mitch Morland tied this ball game with a 2-run home run earlier in this inning. 0-1. Out of play down the right side. Now Delino in an 0-2 hole.
Got a work cut out for you now. No balls and 2 strikes. Trying to make some contact.
Delino this year, runners in scoring position, a .264 average, so just slightly better than what his overall average is. He's a .257 hitter. As Andrus at third, Odor at second. And now Blair going to go out and have a chat with Drew Pomeranz. Pomeranz probably thinking right now about a strikeout, so whatever his strikeout pitch would be. And Blair might not be in tune with that. They haven't worked together all that much. No balls, 2 strikes. Pomeranz okays the sign. The left-hander sets. 1 ball and 2 strikes. R.J. Alvarez has joined Coulomb. Alvarez, of course, the right-hander. Pomeranz reading the signs as Blair flashes them out. Now the left-hander picks 1 out. 1-2 pitch. Line to right center field. Burns will make the catch. Tagging at third, Elvis will score. The throw goes to third. Odor able to advance. And Delino to Shields with a sacrifice fly makes it a 6-5 Ranger lead.
Well, the Rangers have done an excellent job getting the ball in the air with a man on third base and less than 2 outs. They did it twice in the 5th inning. Chu and Beltre. In fact, both balls were hit to that same part of the field in similar fashion. All 3 sacrifice flies have been line drives to right center field. A couple of them a little lower than that, but all 3 of them in the same general area. So good job after the count went to no balls and 2 strikes by Delino. Putting the ball in play, getting the job done.
Go, go, go!
Shin-Soo Choo at the plate now, and he takes a pitch in the dirt that Blair had to drop down to block. 1 ball, no strikes. Well, Choo had one of those line drive sacrifices. Choo and Beltre back-to-back rip balls in the 5th inning that Burns made great plays on to get sacrifices out of. If he hadn't made the catch, that inning might still be going now. 1 ball and 1 strike. The Rangers have come back to take the lead here in the top of the 6th inning. They have scored 3 times. Got Rougned Odor at third with 2 outs. Pomerantz with a 1-1 pitch to Chu. Odor talking to Tony Beasley down there at third. The bullpen for the A's still active in the background. Outside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Chu with 70 RBI now to his credit this year. Trying to get number 71. Bringing Odor home. In the dirt. And again, Blair, a nice stop. So it's a full count. If Chu is able to keep this inning alive, Adrian Beltre swinging a bat in the on-deck circle. Chu, that intense look on his face as Pomerantz sets. Payoff pitch is coming. Line drive to center, and here comes Burns again.
Man.
And makes the catch. Chu hit it on the nose, but Burns made the catch. The Rangers, however, scored 3 times on 3 hits and an error. Mitch Morland's big 2-run home run, his 23rd of the year, got things going. We'll go to the bottom of the 6th. It's now the Rangers 6 and the A's 5. The 6 now, Ranger fans cheering Mitch Morland. As you can understand, so are his teammates. A 2-run home run. The Rangers score 3 in the inning, take a 6-5 lead as Marcus Semien starts things off for the A's. Semien, Blair, and Burns, the first 3 to face Chichi Gonzalez. 2 balls and no strikes to Semien. Semien 1 for 2 tonight. Will Venable stayed in the ballgame, taken over in left field as Semien drives a ball to center, but that is in the dying area out there. Delino, midway back on the warning track, makes the catch for out number 1. Well, if you were a pitcher in this ballpark, you have a bailout area. It goes from the 388 markers in each alley to dead center field. You get behind most hitters anyway in this ballpark. Let them go ahead, make them go ahead and hit the ball straight away, and you've got a pretty good chance of getting it out.
Yeah, you definitely won't give up a cheap home run. If someone hits it out of there, they earned it.
Yep.
Mitch has the power to hit it out of there. That's not a fluke, but saw the one Butler hit pretty well out there, didn't go.
Blair, a cut and a miss for strike one, and the ball that Prince hit to left field got up in the air.
Yeah,
died pretty well too. Blair tonight 0 for 1, a walk and a run scored. And also grounded out to short. .125 average for Carson Blair. 2-1. Well, the Rangers coming back to take the lead. That makes the pitcher of record the man on your screen, Chichi Gonzalez. Fly ball to center field again. Room for Delino to Shields. 2 out. Well, folks, the most popular way to follow the Rangers push to postseason is with MLB.com at Bat. It's the #1 app for live baseball. You can enjoy live look-ins, highlights, replay reviews, scores, StatCast, live radio broadcasts, and more. Get MLB.com at Bat today. You know, a couple of deep fly balls, but plenty of room in center for Delino to run them down. Billy Burns for his 4th at bat of the night. He's 1 for 3 this evening. On both sides of the plate, he loves to put the bat on the ball the first pitch that he sees.
He's a slasher. I mean, he's playing every day. He hasn't quite been up 500 times yet, but he's only walked 23 times. But he'll make contact. Doesn't strike out. Good base runner. Hits left-handed pitching really well. .329 average against left-handed pitching.
Elvis gonna have to get rid of it in a hurry. He does. It is in time.
Nice play.
They got him. Nice play by Elvis. And a very nice shutdown inning for Chichi Gonzalez. 1, 2, 3. We finished 6th. Rangers 6, A's 5. We started off with some A's power inside the park power. How about a couple of triples? Jake Smolinski had an RBI triple. That was followed by Marcus Semion's RBI 3-bagger. A's went on to score 3 in that 2nd inning. Mitch Morland, however, got the Rangers even in the 6th. His 23rd home run of the year. 2 runs last. And then Delino with a sacrifice line drive to center. That scored Elvis. Rangers take a 6-5 lead, and that's where we are as the Rangers come to bat here in the top of the 7th inning.
Number 29, Adrian Beltre.
And Adrian Beltre starting things off. And the new pitcher, Daniel Coulombe, is on the hill now. So, Bob Melvin staying with the left-handers against the Rangers. Adrian takes strike one from Coulomb.
Well, now with Will Venable in the game, Rangers have 5 left-hand hitters in the lineup right now, sprinkled throughout the lineup. So if you bring in a lefty, he's going to see a lefty in his appearance, no matter how many batters he faces, unless he faces one right-hand hitter.
And Coulomb, former L.A. Dodger, came over to the A's. Adrian tonight is 1 for 2 and an RBI single in the first inning. Fly to right in the third, had the sacrifice line drive in the fifth. Good rip and a miss. Beltre.
Fans like that.
Going to walk around a little bit. That's one of those swings we've seen Adrian grimace afterwards before, and that may be on a cool evening. A little reminder of why he doesn't like to swing like that.
Well, he swung like that the first time up on a 2-0 pitch. And then the next pitch he waited on and drove it into right field for an RBI single. I think he was saying, I'm going to take one shot at driving one, and if I don't make it, I'll go back to line one into the outfield somewhere.
And he is gone on strikes. Coulomb strikes out the first hitter he sees. One away for Prince Fielder. Fielder 0 for 3 tonight, although he's hit the ball sharply a couple of times. Had a line drive to left field. He also had a fly ball to deep left field. Last time up, he grounded out to third. Coulomb's first pitch, and Prince takes it a little bit high for ball one. Coulomb back to the plate and gets the inside corner. A's acquired Coulomb from the Dodgers on September the 10th. It was a cash deal. This is his 4th appearance in an Oakland uniform. Skied to fairly shallow left center field. Smolinski makes the catch. That is out number 2. Next will be Will Venable. And Keone Kellett loosening in the Ranger bullpen. Looks like Keone loosening with a purpose. We may see him to start the bottom of the 7th. This is about the way the Rangers like to set things up. Keone's taking the 7th inning, either Diekman or Dyson in the 8th. Of course, the closer, Sean Tollison, to wrap things up if things go according to plan.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a stretch where all those guys were pitching 3-4 times in a row, 4 times in a week, 5 times in a week. Recently, though, the last week or 10 days, they've got pretty good rest out there.
Venable sharply hit up the middle, but Semien has it behind the bag. And it's a fairly quick 1-2-3 inning for Daniel Coulomb. Rangers gone in order will take the stretch in Oakland with the Rangers leading the A's 6-5. And if you place a deposit before Friday, you can guarantee yourself a seat for any 2015 postseason game. Visit TexasRangers.com/seasons to place your deposit today. At the bottom of the 7th inning, and it is indeed Keone Kela, the 22-year-old right-hander, on now. And we haven't seen Keone out there in about 4 days. Last worked against the Astros. Kela in his 65th game of the year, a 7-5 mark, a 2.53. That ERA is coming down, so is the opponent batting average, which, as you saw, is right now at 2.36.
A really nice job by Chichi Gonzalez, who came in with a man on in the 5th. That man would score on an error. He ended up throwing 2 shutout innings in the middle of the game, right when the Rangers needed it. Gave him a chance to come back, take the lead. Turns it over to the bottom end of the bullpen.
Mark Canha. And Keone able to get that off-speed pitch in to even the count at 1-1. In September, Ranger bullpen second only to Seattle.
The Rangers saw a lot of those Mariner guys that are doing the job for them. They got some good arms too.
Yes, they do.
Boy, one thing, Keone, you think with a 21-year-old who throws 96 miles an hour that's pretty much what you'd see when he comes in, but he has commanded that curveball to the point where he can throw it almost any time he wants in any count. And it's a good one. He has, yeah. And it's a good one. Good overhand, sharp breaking pitch that's very difficult to hit. He doesn't hang it very much either.
1-2 pitch. Elvis gliding to his left. Nice play, smoothly done by the Rangers shortstop. Out number 1.
Canha jumped on that fastball. Keone was trying to throw that pitch high and maybe a little out of the strike zone to get him to swing at a high fastball. Came down in a good part of the zone, and Canha hit it well. After all the breaking balls, he was still right on the fastball. Maybe the high target buzz was all for show.
Yeah, it could have been.
When you see a catcher put the sign up high and then he waits down there, does that mean he doesn't want the ball high? He was just maybe thinking the hitter might be watching where he was putting the sign?
Yeah, decoy somebody. I would think. I never had a catcher tell me when he wanted the pitch high. I always threw it up there when I didn't want to anyway.
He didn't have to call it.
No, it didn't matter.
He told you to throw it low when he thought you needed to get it down.
If he could think I was going to throw it where he wanted to, he wouldn't have to worry about it too much. Brett Lowry.
You tell him, just put your glove in the middle of the plate and I'll do the rest.
I told him, don't worry about it. I'm just not going to get to you most of the time anyway. Lowry 1 for 3 tonight. He has struck out a couple times, had a single in the 5th inning. Came around to score. 1-1 pitch from Kela. Out of play to the right. And let's go down to Emily Jones. Yeah?
You guys were talking about Chichi Gonzalez.
Line drive to right. Shin-Soo Choo a couple of steps to his right. Handles that for out number 2. Em, I'm sorry, but I'm sure what you said was really important. We couldn't hear you up here. I apologize for that. Now, base is empty, 2 away. Kela now will face Danny Valencia. Valencia 0 for 2 this evening. He walked and scored in the 3rd inning. Other than that, he has grounded out and reached on an error. Valencia, 289 average as Keone Kela drops that curve in for strike 1. Well, that just changes things so much against a right-handed hitter when he's able to throw that curveball on the first pitch. Now you've got a guy completely flustered at the plate as far as what he can expect next.
Unless you just totally go up there looking for a curveball on the first pitch, you have to recognize the 96 on the scoreboard and 98 on the scoreboard and get tuned up to hit the fastball. when he does drop it in, generally they take it. They're not going to swing at it. Not ready to swing at it.
1-1 from Keller. Now 2-1. Valencia, who started out with the Minnesota Twins, also has spent some time in Toronto and Boston very briefly. A's got Valencia on a waiver claim this year. That is just off the outer edge. 3 balls and a strike. Ryan Dull, fascinating young right-hander for the A's in their bullpen. (3-1). Ball 4. Gallo with a 2-out walk. And that'll bring up the designated here, Billy Butler. And before we tell you about Billy Butler, let's send it back to John Radigan for a Mazda game break.
Billy Butler.
All right, John, thank you.
Have you heard John Sterling's call for him?
No.
I can't remember his first name. I think it's Greg, but let's say it's Greg. And Greg goes, bye-bye, birdie.
Yeah. John Sterling, one of the all-time greats, is coming up with something like that.
Boy. An A-bomb for A-Rod.
Yeah.
He's got a call for everybody.
Well, Billy Butler 1 for 3 tonight. Last time up, grounded into a double play. Got Valencia at first, 2 outs here in the bottom of the 7th inning. And that pitch outside, 2-0. Butler a .253 average. 13 home runs, 62 RBI. There's a strike. 2-1. Butler, a long-time Kansas City Royal, came up with the Royals and signed a free agent deal with the A's this past offseason. Got jammed and popped it up on the infield. Rougned Odor just on the infield grass, makes the catch, and Keone Kela able to work around a 2-out walk. 1 left for the A's. We're going to the 8th inning. It's the Rangers 6 and the A's 5. here in Oakland tomorrow night, and then Thursday afternoon. Then it's on to Houston, a huge weekend matchup. Friday night, Saturday night, or Saturday afternoon, and Sunday afternoon. The last road trip, final game on Sunday, and then it's back home to finish off the regular season. The Tigers in for 3, and the Angels finish it off with 4 games, the 1st through the 4th of October. Mitch Morland, who turned this whole thing around for the Rangers, a 2-run blast last time up, tied the ball game at 5, and he takes strike 1. Now, Mitch, 3 for 3 tonight, 2 singles, that 2-run home run, now with 81 RBI. Daniel Coulombe, who had a 1-2-3 7th inning. And Mitch, this one in reach for Brett Lowry, the second baseman. And he throws out Mitch for out number 1. Now our AT&T U-verse rewind, Mitch Morland to dead center field on Sean Nolan. A 2-run blast, his 23rd of the year. That ties his career high. And it also tied the ball game up. And Mitch making the first out here in the 8th inning with a ground ball to second. Now Elvis Andrus. And Elvis got aboard. He was the first hitter that Drew Pomeranz faced after Mitch's home run. Elvis hit one off of Pomeranz. Got him on the left ankle. And Elvis got aboard, came around to score the go-ahead run on the sacrifice fly by Delino DeShields. 1 ball, no strikes from Coulombe. Now 2-0. Jake Diekman and Sam Dyson. Double-barreled action down there in the Ranger bullpen.
Reddick is the first hitter, a left-hand hitter. May be the reason why.
He almost kind of shaking his head after that let-up pitch had him out in front. 2 balls and a strike. Elvis 1 for 3 tonight. Batting average right where he began things at .257. 2-2. Rangers tonight 6 runs on 8 hits. The A's 5 runs on 6 hits. The A's though have not had a hit since the 5th inning. Bullpen has done an excellent job once again for the Rangers tonight. 2-2 pitch coming to Elvis. Coulombe peering in for the sign. Elvis waiting. Left-hander with that letter high set. And Elvis again pulling an off-speed pitch foul. Coulombe, the 25-year-old southpaw. Back to the plate. It's outside, 3-2.
Long at bats, 8-9 pitches.
Well, Elvis with 1 out trying to get aboard. Rougned Odor will follow. Left-hander with a payoff pitch. Try it one more time. Coulomb ready one more time. Again, the 3-2. Line drive by Valencia down into that left field corner. Elvis into second. That ball almost took Valencia with it.
That might be the hardest hit ball. I'd love to know the exit speed of that ball and see how it compares to the hardest balls Elvis has hit this year. Has to be right there with him. That ball jumped off his bat. What a good at bat. 9-10 pitches. Battled. Finally got one in the strike zone. Everything else is on the perimeter. The 9th pitch is right near the center of the plate, and Elvis had a great swing at it. Well, Valencia, he did the right thing. That's Olay it. Get out of the way of that one.
He's probably saying thank you that ball wasn't hit right at me.
Yeah, I wish it went in my glove, but I'd much rather watch it go down the left field line than see it stuck in my chest.
You know, Elvis' 31st double of the year. Kurt Young, the pitching coach, out to have a little chat with Coulomb. R.J. Alvarez up again, and probably looking forward to the next hitter, Chris Jimenez. Give Danny Valencia an opportunity to catch his breath or start breathing again, whichever way you want to look at it. Here's Odor. Rougned is 0 for 2 with a sacrifice. Ball in the dirt, and Elvis, a great jump, is in head first.
Elvis has good instincts on the bases. Generally, he's going to get a good jump. He's going to take the extra base. He's aggressive. Always has good instincts.
That's a wild pitch, but credit Elvis with making that wild pitch that only got away about 4 or 5 feet, making it cost him 90 feet.
Well, the Rangers have been good at getting a man in from third.
Yeah,
They can do it again.
The infield all the way in, and Odor fouls it back. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. He did have the sacrifice bunt his last time up. Peering out from under that cap. Coulomb, a check of third. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, Delino on his sacrifice fly was down, no balls and 2 strikes. Got the ball in the air. See if Rougned can do it down 1 ball and 2 strikes. You know, Coulomb's going to be going for the strikeout right here. Rougned's going for the contact. See if he can get it in the air to the outfield.
Left-hander is ready. Pulled on the right side through for a base hit. In to score is Andrews. Rougned Odor with the RBI base hit. The Rangers extend their lead. It's now 7-5.
Well, he didn't get it in the air, but he found a hole with the infield in. A lot easier to drive a ground ball through there, but with 1 ball and 2 strikes against the lefty, he made solid contact. Rangers doing an excellent job in this game with a man on third base and less than 2 outs. Probably not trying to throw that pitch right down the middle of the plate, but when he did, Rougned jumped all over it.
So Bob Melvin out, and that's going to do it for Coulomb. Gives up the run on a couple of hits in this frame, and he will leave with Odor at first base and 1 out. R.J. Alvarez will be the new pitcher. We'll take a timeout. The Rangers now leading 7-5. We're back to O.co Coliseum right after this.
Number 37.
fan photo selection. All this, of course, brought to you by the good folks at T-Mobile. Tonight's comes to us from Jessica. Jessica, thank you very much. If you folks would like to submit your photo, just use hashtag Southwest Data StrongFan, and your photo might be selected to be aired like Jessica's was. One of our upcoming broadcasts brought to you by T-Mobile. R.J. Alvarez, the young right-hander, a 24-year-old from Palm Beach, Florida, on now to take over. He inherits Rougned Odor at first base. 1 out, 1 in for the Rangers. Chris Jimenez, the hitter. Jimenez 0 for 1 officially tonight. He struck out in his only official at bat. He's also walked and scored and had a very important sacrifice bunt in the 6th inning. Alvarez in his 19th game. Rather inflated 10.47 ERA. Alvarez in his 4th tour of duty with the A's, up and down a few times this year. Came up for the last time on the 1st of September when the rosters expanded. Worked most of the year at Nashville AAA for the A's. And he deals strike 1 to Jimenez. Rangers 7 runs on 10 hits, so they've brought the offense that they got going at home on the road with them. That's nice to see. I mentioned the Rangers struggling away from Globe Life Park the last month and a half or so offensively, and that is not the case now, or at least tonight. Nice to see them get that same kind of offensive approach going away from home.
A lot of contributors. Nice team effort. Hopefully Elvis is getting hot. Hit the ball hard his last 2 times up. Single and double, scored a run both times.
Oh, 0-1 to count to Jimenez. There goes Odor. The pitch is fouled away. So hit and run put on again. Rangers had a great hit and run with Delino to Shields up in the 5th inning with Jimenez at first. That one was well executed. That got runners at 2nd and 3rd, and it got 2 very important runs. Rangers got it back from a 4-1 deficit to a 4-3 deficit in that inning. And then, of course, took the lead the next frame. Jeff Bannister pulling out a few of the stops here. Hit pretty well to right field. That is slicing into the corner, a fair ball, and it bounces off the seats back into play. And that's going to cost the Rangers a run for the time being, or it's going to cost Chris Jimenez an RBI for sure, because that ball stays in the ballpark, and Rougned Odor scores easily. But Chris Jimenez putting a pretty good charge into that, going the other way for the double.
Well, you talk about everybody contributing. Chris had a leadoff walk and scored in the 5th. He had a nice sacrifice bunt in the 6th to help a 3-run inning. And now he's doubled here in the 8th to put men on 2nd and 3rd and only 1 out.
A 2nd and 3rd, Chris Jimenez with a bolt to right field. And now Delino to Shields, another run-producing opportunity. And the infield is in for Delino. DeShields 1 for 2 tonight. 0-1 on the count. Delino in this situation last time up in the 6th inning. Hit a sacrifice line drive to center field. His base hit came in the 5th. He's also had a walk. Both times he's been on base, he has scored tonight. R.J. Alvarez ready. And DeShields pops one into shallow center. Going out is Lowry, the second baseman, an over-the-shoulder catch. Odor's tagging. He's going to score on the throw. Heads-up play by Rougned Odor as soon as he saw Lowry going out and catching the ball over his head with his back to home plate. Odor in a perfect spot to tag up and score on the play. It is 8-5.
Yeah, there's really nothing that Lowry could do on that ball. He couldn't wait for the center fielder to come in and catch it coming in. He's the only one that could catch it, and that's the only way he could catch it. He wasn't surprised necessarily that Odor tried to score. There was just nothing he could do to get enough on the throw to keep it from happening.
Yep.
So good heads-up play, enough contact. Rangers get another run in from third.
Well, that is the 4th sacrifice. We've seen all manner of sacrifice outs that have scored runs tonight. Chopper foul. We've seen 2 line drives to center. 1 a diving play that turned into a sacrifice line drive out. And we saw a normal sacrifice by Delino in the 6th inning, a normal sacrifice fly. And now a sacrifice pop out to the second baseman. They hit the ball in the air and good things have happened.
Seen, I think, 3 sacrifice bunts to go along with it.
That's right. Here is Shin-Soo Choo. Takes outside, and the count evens at a ball and a strike. Choo's going to find somewhere other than center field to try and hit the ball. He has hit 2 line drives last 2 times up that Billy Burns in center has been able to capture. Got Jimenez at second with 2 outs. 3 runs across in the inning. This one skied down the left field line. Coming on, Smolinski. He is there, and that will do it. Well, the Rangers add 2 more. 2 runs on 3 hits and 1 left. 7.5 in the books. Rangers 8, A's 5.
At O.co Coliseum. This is the opener of a 3-game set between Oakland and Texas, which means game 2 is quite obviously tomorrow. Same time, same place, right here on Fox Sports Southwest. A couple of the hotter contenders in this one, Prince Fielder and Billy Burns. Prince, of course, the AL co-player of the week with Jose Abreu of the White Sox. Both will be on display tomorrow night. 9 o'clock here on Fox Sports Southwest. Big thanks to the guys at AT&T Uverse for getting us ready for Game 2. Buzz.
All right, and thank you. Now, Jake Diekman, the 28-year-old southpaw out of Wymore, Nebraska, on now his 22nd appearance in a Ranger uniform. League hitting just 176 against him, and he's dealing to Josh Reddick. Starting off the bottom of the 8th inning, 1 ball and 1 strike. So Diekman, who last worked 4 days ago against the Mariners. 2 balls and a strike to Reddick. Reddick has walked, reached on an error, reached on a fielder's choice tonight. So 0 for 2. Rangers now with a 3-run advantage over the A's. Rangers have scored in 3 of the last 4 innings. Got a note on the Rangers scoring tonight. 4 sacrifice flies. That's the most in Ranger history. It's the 4th time they've done it. And 4 sacrifice flies in a game.
I wonder if they've ever had 4 sacrifice flies and 3 sacrifice bunts in the same game.
Not on a Tuesday night.
In Oakland.
And Reddick gone on strikes as Diekman blows away Josh Reddick. And that is something that doesn't happen to Reddick very often, that strikeout. He is one of the toughest to strike out in the American League.
Put a little tough location on him with that 96-mile-an-hour fastball. That was Jake's job tonight. Come in and get Josh Reddick, and he did his job.
He did that. Now he's going to turn it over to Sam Dyson. So Diekman is gone. Now the other half of the Diekman-Dyson law firm is coming in. Sam Dyson will come in. We'll tell you all about him when we come back after this timeout. We're back after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Big right-hander, 27-year-old out of Tampa, Florida, on for his 24th appearance in a Ranger uniform. Came over from the Miami Marlins deadline deal. And Dyson, 2-1 with a 1.52 ERA in the league, hitting just .224 against him, the power sinker baller. And he will be facing a pinch hitter as Coco Crisp. Crisp coming off the bench, a switch hitter. Be up there from the left side. Crisp off injured the last couple of years. Not spent a whole lot of time on the active list, and missing that time, the A's found a replacement for him in center field. Billy Burns has become the everyday center fielder. So Crisp on as a pinch hitter, and Dyson goes to work with a power sinker that's low for ball 1. Dyson back with the 1-0 pitch. 1 ball and 1 strike. Crisp, as a left-handed batter, just 152 this year. Right-handed, 189. It has not been the kind of year. Crisp only appearing in his 38th ball game. Dyson okays the sign. Crisp out in front of that off-speed pitch. 1-2. crisp. Currently in an 0 for 7 funk. Got him swinging.
Took a little something off that one. 90 miles an hour, but that ball nosedived right away from the bat.
Dyson with a strikeout. 2 gone. Marcus Semien now coming up.
That's not what you would call a comfortable at bat after a couple of hours coming up and trying to hit that. Got the bat on a couple of the 96 mile an hour sinkers, but couldn't get it on that one.
Semien 1 for 3 tonight. Had an RBI triple in the second inning. 97 with a little movement to it. 0-1. Semien batting at .255. And on a cool evening here in Oakland, I'm not sure that Dyson's exactly the kind of guy you want to face. That power sinker, the turbo sinker. It's tough to get that on the good part of the bat.
It is.
One pitch. Salmon now 23 full innings of work. Has walked 4. He has struck out 22. And he misses low. 3-1. Semien hitting 8th in the order. Carson Blair, the catcher, the next scheduled hitter. Three and 2. Dyson, a new baseball to work with, back up on top of the hill. Marcus Semien wagging that bat back and forth. Payoff pitch is on the way. Base hit to center field. Well, Semien got a pitch that he can handle, get a little elevation to. He's able to drive it into center. And that 2-out single will have Carson Blair going back to the dugout. Sinker staying up. So Blair pulled back for a pinch hit. It'll be Stephen Vogt. Vogt coming off the bench. As a pinch hitter, that was Billy Burns you saw in your picture, but Vogt coming up as the pinch hitter.
Vogt earlier in the season when the Rangers faced the A's before the All-Star game, he was one of the hottest hitters in the league. Second half hasn't gone all that well for him. Had injuries. Look at almost the numbers he had at the All-Star break, it seems like.
Yeah, just about.
Close to it.
Just about. Also one of the best hitters in Oakland history against the Rangers. He and Rediker back-to-back in the 440s against the Rangers all time this year. All time on the Oakland list of single season against the Rangers/Senators franchise. 0-1 pitch to him. In the dirt, gets away, and down to second base goes Semien on the wild pitch. So Semien in scoring position, a count of 1 ball and 1 strike to Vogt. Dyson a check of second. 1-2 now to Vogt. That wild pitch, by the way, by Sam Dyson. You would think that a guy that throws that kind of sinker would have more wild pitches than just one, but that was only his second wild pitch as a Ranger. Semien at the bottom of your screen getting his lead from second. Dyson to the plate. Got him swinging. Down and away with a little off of it, and Vogt gone on strikes. No runs, a hit, one left. We're going to the ninth. Rangers leading by 3. Has come out of the Oakland bullpen to take over the switch pitcher, if you will.
Well, we're going to get a chance to see him switch. Righty, righty, lefty, lefty.
Adrian up there stood in the left-handed hitter's batter's box for a second, kind of smiling. Okay, you're going to switch. I'm going to switch too. Oh, goodness. Now, Beltre steps in 1 for 3 tonight. Big strike one from Venditti. Adrian's base hit produced a run in the first inning. Off the end of the bat, shallow left field. It is dropping in a hurry. The dive by Crisp. And it is by him, and Beltre is going to end up at second. Now, Coco Crisp, who had pinch hit for Smolinski, stayed in the ballgame to take over and left, and was completely fooled on that full swing from Adrian Beltre.
You see that on a big swing, ball off the end of the bat where it doesn't go anywhere.
And Brian Anderson, the new catcher.
Man, you got the longest hair in the league anyway. Yeah, because that ball hung up there for a long time, and Crisp really didn't come close to catching it.
Well, Beltre at second. Now Venditti will switch arms and throw left-handed against Prince Fielder. Pretty much the same assortment. Drops down sidearm to throw the breaking balls. Throw an occasional fastball.
It'd be funny if he threw like 96 one way and threw like a knuckleball the other way.
Yeah. that would be something. 0-2. I still want to find out, though. I'm going to ask tomorrow. Venditti went on the disabled list. He had a sore right shoulder. Why didn't he just throw a left-handed? I mean, if that's one shoulder sore, that doesn't mean both of them are.
Just can't face righties, I guess.
Yeah. And Fielder gone on 3 pitches. Venditti gets the strikeout. Apparently he's more of a strikeout pitcher left-handed. Yeah, he will stay from the southpaw side and work to Will Venable.
Number 30, Will Venable.
Venable came on as a pinch runner for Mike Napoli in the 6th inning. Stayed in the ball game, had one at bat, grounded to short. And ahead of the count now. No balls and 2 strikes is Venditti. Beltre at second. The fastball is outside. Got him swinging. Back-to-back strikeouts for Venditti. 2 gone. And Mitch Morland will be next. Our GXU Energy power player is the man coming to home plate. That would be Mitch Morland. Against Sean Nolan, Rangers trailing by 2, no longer. Mitch Morland tied the ball game with his 23rd home run of the year. He had a big mug from Mike Napoli and company. Our GXU Energy power player, Mitch Morland. 1 ball, no strikes. And along with the 2-run home run, Mitch has added a couple of singles, so a 3-for-4 night so far. A couple of runs driven in, now 81 for the year. Trying to pick up Adrian Beltre out at second. 2 balls, no strikes. John Tollison, the Ranger closer, loosening in that bullpen. We'll see Tommy for the bottom of the 9th, barring a huge outburst of runs. Been a week since we saw Sean Tollison in the ball game. That pitch just a little bit low to Mitch, and it's 3-1. If Morland keeps this 9th inning going for the Rangers, Elvis Andrus in that on-deck circle. Venditti set, the 3-1 pitch. Check swing, did he go? No, he did not. Ball 4, that puts Mitch aboard, and it'll bring up Elvis. And what's left of the crowd of about 16,500 turning into umpires. He didn't like that last call.
Now batting.
Elvis has had base hits his last 2 times up, a single and a double. 2 for 4 this evening. That batting average now at .259. And apparently a ball got loose in the outfield out there. Well, I'm not really sure what that was. It might have been a mushroom. I don't know. Well, field tidied up. Elvis stepping in. Venditti back to the right side. And misses outside. 1 ball, no strikes. Rangers 8 runs on 12 hits tonight. 2-0. Elvis content to let Venditti throw all the slow breaking balls he wants to. Three balls, no strikes. Beltre at second, Morland at first. 3-1. And ball 4 loads him up. Well, back-to-back walks, one from the left side, one from the right side. Pat Venditti now will work again as a left-hander, this time to Rougned Odor.
Seems tougher in this game anyway, left-handed to the left-hand hitters.
Odor 1 for 3, had an RBI single and scored a run in the 8th inning. He also had to sacrifice a couple of flyouts. He takes strike 1 on the fastball. Odor hitting at an even 270. Hits that one hard, but pulled it foul down the right side. 0-2. One grand slam in Rougned's career. .333 average. Little number down the third baseline is going to drift off into foul territory. We'll come back and try another 0-2 pitch. In case you missed it earlier, the Angels defeated the Astros tonight 4-3, so the Rangers have an opportunity now to increase their lead in the Western Division to 2 full games over the A's, or the Astros. As it stands right now, Houston a game and a half back. The Angels now 4 back. Seattle at 7 back. 1-2. Rangers have done a good job in this ball game after getting down early 4-1. Coming back, the focus, whatever you want to call it. Getting back into the game, making it a 1-run game, and then putting 3 on the board in the 6th inning, which Morland got him going on that path and took the lead, and they have not looked back. Added 2 more in the 8th inning. And maybe some more here in the 9th. Little pop-up, foul territory. That's going to go back over the screen. Still 2-2. Venditti has the sign. Another 2-2 pitch. Got him swinging. Well, the Rangers load the bases in the 9th. Can't do anything with it. They leave 3. Bottom of the 9th. It's tally time at OAK Coliseum. Rangers on top 8-5. Baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. By AT&T UVerse TV. UVerse has more live TV channels on the go than cable. And by your Texas Ford dealers. Visit your local Texas Ford dealer today. Ford is the best in Texas. Eight to 5, Rangers on top of the Oakland A's, and it's tally time here at O.Coke Coliseum. Sean Tollison on for his 67th appearance. Tollison 32 out of 34 in save opportunities. This is number 35, and he's dealing to the top of the order. And Billy Burns takes ball one. Burns finally saw a pitch in and swing at. He's seen 6 pitches.
Couldn't swing
all
at
of them.
He wanted to.
Drew Stubbs in the ballgame, taking over in center field for Delano DeShields. Tollison hits the outside corner. It's a ball and a strike. Tollison 66 and a third innings of work this year. He has struck out 71, walked just 17. 1-1 pitch to Burns. On the inside corner. 1-2. Burns 1 for 4 tonight and a first inning single. Tollison, the 27-year-old out of Allen, Texas, by way of Baylor University. That evens the count now at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Been a while for Sean Tollison since we've seen him too. The week in between here and the last Houston series. Tollison picked up the win in that ball game. Burns pops it up. A lot of foul territory. Beltre over. And he is there to make the catch. Oh, this spacious foul ground here at O.Coke Coliseum plays right into Sean Tollison's hands. The Rangers get out number 1.
Now batting first baseman, Mark Canha.
Now Tollison will face Mark Canha. Canha is 1 for 4. Had an RBI single back in the second inning. On the outside corner for strike 1. Mark Canha hitting at .255. Bases empty. Rangers on top in this ball game, 8 to 5. And Canha drills one up the alley. That's going to go to the wall for extra bases. He has hit the ball hard a couple of times tonight, and he is at second with 1 out.
Just about how he hit the last one too. He had an RBI hit in the second inning. Screaming line drive into left center field. Hit ball on the inside part of the plate. He got the bat around nicely on that one. Big swing, hard hit ball.
Well, that's the 8th base hit of the night for the Oakland A's. Canha with his second is at second. And Brett Lowry, 1 for 4, steps in. Dollison's first pitch to Lowry. Strike 1. Lowry singled and scored in the 5th inning. To this juncture of the ball game, that's the last time that the A's got on the scoreboard. Chris Jimenez able to block that breaking ball from Tollison. Tollison is taking over as the Rangers closer back on the 20th of May, as all 32 of his saves, and that is the most in that time span in the American League. Only Mark Melanson of the Pirates over the National League has more. Melanson with 39. Another good breaking ball. Lowry who saw nothing but breaking balls the first time around with the A's when the Rangers faced him back in April. Rangers reverting to old form against him. Now Tollefson ready for the 1-2 pitch. Right back to Tollefson. He checks back to second to see where Canna is and throws out Lowry. That is out number 2, and Danny Valencia will come up. Valencia tonight has walked a couple of times. He scored back in the 3rd when he led it off with a walk. He's also reached on an error and grounded to short. Let's see, a .289 average, 16 home runs, 60 driven in. 31 of those 60 RBI as an Oakland A. 1 ball, no strikes. The 16 home runs, by the way, the combined 16 home runs between the A's and the Blue Jays. High water mark for Valencia's career. Tollefson's 1-0 pitch to him. Tollefson leaning in for the signs. Chris Jimenez flashing out a series to him. Now the 2-0 pitch. Span in between outings for Tollefson, longest he has had off since the 4-day All-Star break. And as you mentioned, Tom, the Ranger bullpen pretty well rested, especially the tail end of it.
Yeah, that's
pay dividends
for this time of year, coming down the stretch in the pennant race. They got a lot of rest, and it's not because the Rangers were losing and they didn't need them. They had some big leads. Didn't need them for that reason. Rangers were winning. You got a couple of long outings in there. Kobe Lewis had a complete game. Cole Hamels pitched deep into a game. That saved the bullpen those couple of nights. So coming down the stretch in the last 2 weeks, 17 straight games, the bullpen should be ready to go.
Now we're set for the 2-1. 3 balls and a strike. Now, if Valencia is able to extend the game, Billy Butler, the DH, is in the on-deck circle. Tollefson to the plate. That fills the count. Outfield playing very deep. Just about straight away for Valencia. Infield shades him to the left side. Payoff pitch from Tollefson. Popped up. Morland, a long run with room, but can't quite get there.
What the heck is that guy doing?
I don't have any idea.
Door almost opened up and hit Mitch. Could have been disastrous. No, he wasn't doing it on purpose.
Yeah, he was leaning out there,
leaning
just
out
open
to catch it. Unfortunately, the edge of that didn't hit Mitch.
Okay, we'll try the 3-2 again.
You got a dump for a ballpark. Stands to reason everything's not going to work. I don't say that out of disrespect. It's just a fact, and the A's, I'm sure, would be right there on board with it.
Base hit to left field. Being waved around third. And coming in to score is Cannon. RBI base hit for Valencia makes it an 8-6 Ranger lead. And it brings the tying run to home plate with 2 outs here in the 9th inning.
Another hard hit ball. Valencia. Didn't really want to see a guy with some power come up for the tying run, but that's what we got now.
Number 16, Billy Butler.
Well, Butler, 1 for 4 tonight. He does have 13 home runs and 0 for 2 in his career against John Tolleson. Butler right now representing the tying run in this ball game. And he was going up here with the idea that Tolleson is going to try to get ahead, and he had a pretty healthy hack at that fastball.
He got what he was looking for, just fouled it off, and that's what he's thinking right now. Look for a fastball. I got a fastball. I liked where it was. Had a good swing. Just didn't connect. Let's see that pitch again.
Valencia headed towards second, and he will be in without a play. The defensive indifference advance. 1 ball and 1 strike to Butler. Butler in his last 18 ball games has hit .342. Excuse me, that's Billy Burns. He's hit .347. Check swing on the pitch in the dirt. It's 2-1. Tolleson ready to go. The 2-1 pitch to Butler.
He didn't see the same pitch. He saw a better one.
Yeah.
Sean challenged him. Threw him a fastball. Here it is, big guy.
Yeah, Jimenez out to suggest that Sean might want to go to a different.
I tried that 3 times.
Yeah.
Twice is enough for the big guy. You've given him a shot. Now let's put him away.
Butler back in. Jimenez back behind the plate. Tolleson ready to go. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Now 3-2. Now, if Butler is able to get on base, Josh Reddick is in the on-deck circle, and that certainly is not good news for Ranger fans. Payoff pitch. Chopper out to short. Elvis charging. Has it on to first, and that is a winner.
Them all fastballs and dropped a curveball in a 3-2 pitch.
John Tolleson, his 33rd save of the year in 35 opportunities. The Rangers win out of the chute on the first game of this road trip. An 8-6 final here tonight. A great comeback win for the Rangers. And John Tolleson closes it out. Gigi Gonzalez gets the win tonight in relief. As the Rangers, with the win, go to 81-69. They increase their lead in the AL West to 2 full games. And they are 3 games ahead in the loss column over the Houston Astros. So the Rangers able to get it done tonight. And there is the updated standings. There are the updated standings. Rangers at 8.